Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Hill along with John Dockery, and this is a really critical part of the season for the Atlanta Falcons. They've lost 2 in a row, John. They're on the road for 2 games, and while they're looking for a victory, they're looking for a team leader.
The loss of William Andrews and Billy White Shoes Johnson was a devastating blow for the Atlanta Falcons. It's like an engine not running on all of its cylinders. I mean, there are capable replacements in Riggs and Hodge, but what Dan Henning is trying to do is fine-tune the machine. It's a tough place to do it because the Steelers are one of the best defenses in the NFL.
And for more than a decade, the Steelers have been one of the top defenses. But the Steeler offense is a big question mark going into today's game. 5 new starters.
The Steelers on offense have not had that killer instinct. And in fairness to them, they've had injuries at quarterback. Their starter, David Woodley, has been in and out the last couple of weeks. So this man, Mark Malone, makes only the 4th start of his 5-year career. But a couple of weeks ago, Mark Malone was the man at quarterback as the Steelers, in a major upset, beat the then unbeaten San Francisco 49ers. So the Steelers are comfortable and confident with their former #1 draft choice at quarterback, Jim.
And John, Mark Malone will get a good look at him from the beginning because the Steelers have won the toss, elected to receive. Mick Luckhurst is all set to kick off for the Atlanta Falcons. Rich Erenberg, number 24, and Eric Williams, number 21, is all set. They're all set to receive now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Falcons have never beaten the Steelers here in Three River Stadium. Pittsburgh holds a commanding lead in the series, winning 5 games while losing only 1. The Falcons haven't beaten the Steelers since 1970. So the Atlanta Falcons, in a critical part of their schedule, looking for a victory today, which will get them back in the race in the NFC's Western Division, while the Steelers hope to hang on to their lead, their 2-game lead. And our ball game is underway. Rich Erenberg takes the ball about 5 yards in the end zone, elects to down it right there, and so the Steelers will have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line. The offensive lineup for the Pittsburgh Steelers: Mark Malone, Rich Erenberg, Frank Pollard, John Stallworth, and Ouija Thompson are the wide receivers. The offensive line, and the only stable person there is Mike Webster, who hasn't missed a game in 13 years. First and 10 for Pittsburgh at their own 20-yard line. Pollard, the lone setback. Malone back to pass on 1st down. And the pass is intercepted. Kenny Johnson comes up with a pass interception for the Atlanta Falcons. And immediately, John, the Falcons get a tremendous break, and they must take advantage of it.
The Falcons last week were devastated after a disorganized performance against the Rams on Monday night. Here they get a big lift early. They were worried about the psychological well-being of the team. Here Mark Malone, as we mentioned, only starting 4 games in 5 years, makes a mistake early. It's intercepted. The Falcons get a break early.
The pass was intended for Ouija Thompson. Obviously a misunderstanding on the pass route, but now the Falcons have a tremendous pass opportunity right now to get in and score. Steve Bartkowski at quarterback. Handoff. That's Gerald Riggs, but there is a flag on the play. And Dwayne Woodruff ends up with the ball. He's running down the far sideline, and Dwayne Woodruff is going in for the score for Pittsburgh, but there is a flag on the play. Dwayne Woodruff, the 6-year man from Louisville, comes up with the fumble. But as we mentioned, there is a flag on the play.
Illegal motion. Offense. Touchdown.
An emotional roller coaster here early. First, Mark Malone comes out, throws an interception. Atlanta gets a break. The Tide goes with them. Then the first play from scrimmage, Gerald Riggs coughs up the ball. Woodruff picks it up, takes it in for the touchdown. 67-yard return, and the Steelers get on the board early here at Three Rivers Stadium.
Talk about a bang-bang play. Oh, that is really amazing. Gary Anderson now in to attempt the extra point conversion. Craig Colquitt will hold for the Steelers. And it's good. The first time the Steelers have recovered an opponent's fumble in 7 games to return it for a touchdown, 67 yards by Dwayne Woodruff.
Let's take another look at it again. There's Riggs cutting off tackle. He's hit by a number of Steelers. The ball pops loose. Watch his bounce. Woodruff gets a good bounce after Gary Dunn, number 67, stripped the ball. Woodruff picks it up. And that's the 5th defensive touchdown for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. The defense has been carrying the Pittsburgh Steelers most of this year. They've been consistent. They've made the big plays. They made another one right there, and that puts the Steelers ahead early here at Three Rivers Stadium.
Fumble return or touchdown by Dwayne Woodruff. The Steelers now lead the Atlanta Falcons 7-0. Gary Anderson all set to kick off for the Steelers. Sylvester Stamps back to receive for the Falcons. And Stamps gets the ball 1 yard deep in the end zone. And Sylvester Stamps gets to the outside and he stumbles and falls out of bounds at about the Atlanta Falcon 27-yard line. So that's where the Falcons will take over. 1st and 10 again. Here's a look at the offensive lineup for the Falcons. Bartkowski is the quarterback. Gerald Riggs, who fumbled a little while ago. Cliff Benson is the H-back. Stacey Bailey and Alfred Jackson, the wide receivers. Their offensive line, and we're looking at it right there. Jeff Van Note, the veteran center. He's playing in his 206th game. He's been there for a long, long time.
Be very interesting to see. Now, one of the problems that the Falcons have had is the emotional leadership quality that's been absent since William Andrews is hurt, and Billy White Shoes Johnson, a very intangible thing. All of a sudden, now they're down 7-0 in Three Rivers Stadium, which is a hotbed to play in, and Dan Henning is concerned about the psychological well-being of his team. Before the game, Jim, they all came out to center of the field during the player introductions to try and get a lift, and all of a sudden, Dwayne Woodruff takes it for the touchdown. They're down 7-0.
And talking to Dan Henning yesterday, we really got the impression that he was a little on edge, a little nervous, and you really can't help but be on edge and a little nervous when you have even your owner criticizing your ball club. But it's 1st and 10 now for Atlanta. Bartkowski, play action pass, complete to Stacey Bailey. Stacey Bailey there, first contact made by Sam Washington. So Stacey Bailey is their real home run threat, and immediately they try to go into the pass and try and get it to him. A look at the defensive lineup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. John Goodman, Gary Dunn, Keith Gary, the linebacking core, and it is a good one. And a lot of people around here are saying Jack is back. Jack Lambert, the All-Pro, back in the starting defensive lineman for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, of course, there's a look at the secondary people, and they are a good one. So Jack Lambert back starting for the Steelers after being out for more than a month. 2nd and 5 for the Falcons. Handoff to Gerald Riggs. Riggs gets up across the 35-yard line up to about the 36-yard line. Tackle there made by Mike Merriweather.
Not by Merriweather.
Difficult situation for Gerald Riggs. He replaces William Andrews, who was the most productive back in the NFL for the last 5 years when you can consider combined yardage. Riggs is a capable replacement. Look at those statistics. Almost 5 yards per carry. He opened the season with 202 yards against New Orleans. They need a big day from Riggs if they're going to beat the Steelers.
Pick up a 4. It is 3rd and 1. All at the 36-yard line. Cliff Benson in motion. And off to Riggs again. Gerald Riggs picks up enough yardage for the first down and gets to the outside. Finally, the tackle is made by Dwayne Woodruff and Donnie Shell.
Not by Shell and Woodruff.
And it's very early, Jim, but this is an important drive for a team that's looking for confidence. You need this kind of surge by your offensive line. You need this kind of power running by your big I-back. He's the only back there. He's 6'1", 230. He's powerful. The line is a good blocking line. And take a look right here. Power, Riggs getting that extra yardage.
1st and 10 for the Falcons at their own 47-yard line. And the handoff to Riggs. Gerald Riggs gets into Steeler territory before his tackle there by Brian Hinkle along with Donnie Shell.
And we must remember that Gerald Riggs is coming back from ankle trouble. He's played in 7 games. He's averaged over 100 yards in those games that he's playing. His statistics are strong, but the last couple of weeks he's been hampered by that ankle.
And one of the things that the Steelers really worry about, or the one thing that they really worry about as far as the Falcons are concerned, is if the Falcons can run. That's the one thing that the Steelers are really concerned about. Right now, the Falcons are trying to do a good job of running. 2nd and 4. Handoff to Riggs again. Dips to the inside, picks up a couple of yards, and dives forward before he's tackled by Donnie Shell once again. So Gerald Riggs is the workhorse for the Atlanta Falcons early in the ball game.
And he has to be. In a one-back offense, obviously, everyone knows in the ballpark that Gerald Riggs is going to carry the ball 25, 30, 35 times a game, much the way William Andrews used to. The offensive line of the Atlanta Falcons is probably the most consistent, solid part, but they're not a dominant, power-blocking type of offense. So we'll see how they do against a good Steeler defense.
And the Steeler defense is put to the test now. 3rd and 1. Benson in motion. Chubb-Bot, the handoff to Gerald Riggs again, and it looks like he picks up enough yardage for the first down before it's tackled by Brian Hinkle and Robin Cole. It is very, very close, and it is a first down for the Atlanta Falcons.
2 yards.
Steve Bartkowski and the Atlanta Falcons have tried to be patient with their offense. They've been criticized for not going up top, downtown more often. And both Bartkowski and Henning told us, you got to have the receivers to go up top. Teams have been playing that soft zone against us. We have to take what they give us.
1st and 10 for the Falcons at the Steeler 42-yard line. Steve Bartkowski at quarterback. Play action pass. Bartkowski, good protection. Complete to Cliff Benson. Benson picks up enough yardage for the first down. Finally tackled there by Jack Lambert.
And you're watching the maturing of a quarterback. Steve Bartkowski, you saw his stats a moment ago, has completed 66% of his passes. That time, Alfred Jackson was inside. The H-back, take a look at him right here. Benson coming across the field, just goes to the outside against the zone. That forces the zone and the defense to move with motion. He finds an open spot, and the strong-arm player, 10 years out of California, Bartkowski, gets him the ball.
1st and 10 for the Falcons at the Steeler 26-yard line. Handoff to Gerald Riggs. And Jack Lambert is in the backfield to make the tackle. The 11-year veteran from Kent State. And oh, what an emotional lift he is just being back there. I see the smile on your face.
You see the smile on my face. Take a look at the right side, number 58. Boy, does he play it aggressively. He's a man that once suggested that quarterbacks wear skirts. Man doesn't have much respect for the finesse players in this game. His is very simple. Hard, aggressive, brutal football. Jack Lambert is back.
2nd and 9 for Atlanta. The 25-yard line of the Steelers. On the draw play to Riggs. Mike Merriweather. And the Steeler defense is starting to rise to the occasion. That's one thing about the Steelers on defense. Whenever people start to drive on them, somehow, one way or another, they seem to rise to the occasion time after time after time.
And they have those fine linebackers, Merriweather, Jack Lambert, Cole, Hinkle. It's a quality. Take a look at it right here again. See, Lambert stuffed the hole, and everyone else pursuing, getting across the line, making things happen. That opens it up for Merriweather.
The Steelers now have 5 defensive backs. Number 23, Chris Brown, checks in. 3rd and 10. Ball at the 26-yard line of Pittsburgh. This is the 9th play of the drive. Bartkowski back to pass. And he is set. Merriweather on the blitz.
Third-year Marinetta Pacific. Watch the left side of your screen. Number 57 becoming on the blitz. Right there, gets away from his man. Actually gets some help from the outside from John Goodman, number 95. Bartkowski really didn't have much time at all to throw. And that Steeler defense makes things happen. Going into the game, they had 23 sacks. They put pressure on the quarterback right there. Bartkowski, no time to throw the ball.
So Mick Luckhurst is in to attempt a field goal. This field goal will be from 54 yards. And from 50 yards out, Luckhurst is a perfect 3 for 3. It is no good. Luckhurst misses to the right from 54 yards out. So after the missed field goal by Mick Luckhurst from 54 yards out, the Pittsburgh Steelers lead the Atlanta Falcons, and we'll be right back in just a moment. Doubleheader this afternoon, the San Francisco 49ers against the Los Angeles Rams.
And certainly the Rams have a chance to cut into that 2-game lead in the NFC West. And you know what? The Pittsburgh Steelers beat San Francisco running the ball a few weeks ago, and the Rams with Eric Dickerson have something special going, so they have a good shot at San Francisco.
And the 49ers also have a pretty good running back themselves.
Not bad. Wendell Tyler, what a year he's having. On display, 2 of the best coming up here next on CBS.
But right here, it's 1st and 10 for the Pittsburgh Steelers at their own 36-yard line. The Steelers lead it 7-0. Mark Malone at quarterback. The handoff to Rich Erenberg. Erenberg dancing his way across the 40-yard line, up to about the 43 before he's finally tackled by Kenny Johnson, who has an interception already this afternoon.
Right ball.
Rich Erenberg, the rookie out of Colgate. Let's take a look now at the defensive alignment for the Atlanta Falcons. They play the 4-3. There's a look at the 4 down linemen. The linebackers, Buddy Curry, told us yesterday he must have a good game this afternoon. He's putting a lot of pressure on himself. There's a look at the secondary for the Falcons, and it's a pretty good one. Mark Malone at quarterback, 2nd and 3 for the Steelers. Hand off to Frank Pollard. Pollard hit right at the 45-yard line before Buddy Curry comes up and makes the tackle.
By Curry.
I think Mark Malone's game plan, along with Chuck Knowles, is to do what they did against San Francisco, and Malone was the quarterback 2 weeks ago. They beat San Francisco by running the ball 47 times. They got 175 yards rushing against the 49ers. They believe they can do the same thing today.
3rd and about a yard now for the Steelers at their own 45-yard line. Pittsburgh has 3 tight ends in now. Elton Vito checks into the backfield with Erenberg. Here's a toss back. Goes to Frank Pollard. And Pollard is held short of the first down, hit at about the 45-yard line. So the Atlanta Falcons, who in years past, and including this year, have a pretty good defense, they meet the challenge right now.
One of the big things that Dan Henning wanted to do with the Falcons was to improve their defense, near the bottom in the NFL last year. This year, they're right around the middle of the pack, so they're dramatically improved on defense. Their problems, Jim, have come on inconsistent offense of late. They've only put 13 points on the board in the last 4 games average.
4th down now. Craig Colquitt into punt for Pittsburgh. And Willie Curran back to receive for the Falcons. He's at about his 11-yard line. Colquitt gets a good high punt. Curran at the 10. And Willie Curran gets up to about the 19 or 20-yard line before he's tackled there by Scoop Gillespie.
And you have to wonder what Billy White Shoes Johnson would have done on a situation like that. There was a little bit of room. Curran gets them field position. The Falcons will try to come back against the Steelers when we come back to Three Rivers Stadium.
Second half of our doubleheader. Some of you will see the Washington Redskins going against the New York Giants. And, John, that NFC's Eastern Division is a hot one.
It's certainly crowded at the top. Take a look at that. It's a 3-team scramble. So Washington has to have a victory today as they take on the New York Giants. And, boy, Riggins and Theismann having great years. But LT, I know, is angry. He hasn't had a sack in the last few weeks. He'll be breathing fire against the Skins today.
That, of course, is Lawrence Taylor. But it's 1st and 10 here for the Atlanta Falcons at their own 20-yard line. Cliff Benson in motion. Bartkowski set to pass. Complete to Gerald Riggs. Gerald Riggs picking up nice yardage, getting across the 30 to about the 33-yard line before he's driven out of bounds there by Jack Lampert and Eric Williams.
That's a new thing in the NFL this year. It's actually an option screen where the quarterback fades back. He has the option of throwing it upfield or to a back with 2 linemen pulling him out in front instead. That time he chose Gerald Riggs. He gets a good gain for the first down.
You know, Gerald Riggs is the kind of guy who's very quiet, very soft-spoken when we talked to him yesterday, but he really feels that they're going to be able to move the ball against the Steelers.
He's an outstanding back tackle. Great potential.
1st and 10 for Atlanta at their own 32. And off to Riggs again. Riggs spinning, twisting his way up across the 40 to about the 42-yard line. Tackle made by Mike Merriweather and Donnie Shell. So the offensive line for the Falcons doing a pretty good job.
Well, when you look at that offensive line, you see 2 all-pros. You see Mike Ken and you see R.C. Thielman. Both those guys were in the Pro Bowl last year. Take a look at the surge right here of that offensive line. Ken, number 78, doing a pretty good job. But it's really Riggs bouncing, spinning, turning, getting the yards on his own. He is a big horse at 230 pounds. As good a runner as William Andrews.
2nd and 1. Ball at the 41-yard line. It's Alfred Jackson in motion. The Steelers on the blitz. But Gerald Riggs dipping to the outside. Gets up to about the 44-yard line before it's tackled by Gary Dunn and John Goodman.
And a good eye back, a good one back like a Riggins or your man from the West Coast, Eric Dickerson. Really, the attributes they have to have besides superior athletic ability, speed, quickness, is really vision, Jim, because that play, most of the plays to those backs can go 2 or 3 places, so they have to read their options, the blocks, and make the appropriate cut.
And Riggs, on a sore left ankle, is doing a pretty good job. 1st and 10 for Atlanta at their 45. Jackson in motion again. And off to Riggs. Gerald Riggs. Tackled by Lampert and Brian Hinkle. So the offensive line getting a good surge. It looks like they're getting underneath the defensive lineman of the Pittsburgh Steelers and kind of moving them around a little bit.
Well, you better get a good surge when you're playing against a team that has a guy like Jack Lambert. He's back from that toe. You know, he had that dislocated toe. He's wearing a protective pad on it. He's a man that will step up and punish an offensive line, make things happen. If you don't that time, he's right by R.C. Fieldman before he can react. He gets into the backfield.
Here's Bartkowski. Dumps it off to Riggs. Brian Hinkle, number 53. A good shoestring tackle out of the open field. Brought down just about the 50-yard line.
And if there's one area where you lose something in the Riggs for Andrews transition, it's in the pass receiving. William Andrews, one of the best pass receivers in the game, also knows how to find that open spot and run after he catches the ball. Gerald Riggs, not that much experience, but improving in that area of the game.
First quarter score this afternoon. It's Green Bay over Detroit, 7-0. Also, Chicago leading Minnesota, 6-0. Here, Pittsburgh leading Atlanta, 7-0. 2:40 left in the first quarter. 3rd and 4. Bartkowski going back to pass again. Good protection. Complete to Gerald Riggs. But there's Jack Lambert and Brian Hinkle.
Last year, this is where they really miss Billy White Shoes Johnson. I'll talk about that in a moment.
Let's go to New York and Brent Musburger for this NFL update.
Jim, the Chicago Bears have struck first against Minnesota. Now watch Walter Payton show sweep. Come to the outside, and instead, Matt Suhey, who's got the ball, he's got running room. Back to Jim Hill.
All right, Brent, thank you very much. Fourth down now, 4th and 1 for the Atlanta Falcons. Ralph Giacomo and Louis Lips, the exciting young rookie, set to receive for the Steelers at about his own 10-yard line. He started to fake it, but now he punts it. And here's Lips at the 9. Here's Lips. Louis Lips driven out of bounds at the Pittsburgh Steelers 32-yard line by Eric Saunders. And Lips, who went out of the ball game a couple of weeks ago, stays in the lineup, and we'll see exactly what Mark Malone has in store for him and the rest of the Steelers when we come back in just a moment. Statistic, John. Gerald Riggs, 59 yards of total offense. The whole Steeler team, only 9.
Yes, Riggs is having a good day, but I'm sure he'd give back all of those 59 yards to get that fumble recovery back, which is a difference here today. 7-0.
With 1 minute and 26 seconds left to go in the first period. 1st and 10 for the Steelers at their own 32-yard line. Mark Malone at quarterback. Handoff to Rich Erenberg. Erenberg driving over the left side before he's tackled by Rick Bryan. Also Don Smith in on the tackle.
You know, it's interesting when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year, they really had no passing game. Chuck Noll said, well, we're going to remedy that. He went out and got Louis Lips, #1 draft choice. He also got Weegee Thompson. So now they can strike through the air, but they're having problems on the ground. They rank 18th in the NFL. They're only averaging a little over 100 yards a game on the ground.
Pickup of 3. It's 2nd and 7. Ball at the 35. Mix up in the backfield, and Mark Malone goes down. Malone looked like he was trying to make the handoff to Rich Erenberg, but Erenberg was trying to get out into the pass pattern, and you're going straight down the field.
This is only Mark Malone's 2nd start of the year. Of course, David Woodley out with that deep bruise in his shin. So Mark Malone a little rusty with the offense. No place to go, and wisely, Mark Malone goes down because we all know about his serious knee injury a few years back, a whole reconstructed knee. They're not anxious to see Mark Malone run, especially with Woodley just about unable to play, being unable to play today.
And if something happens, Scott Campbell will come in. But now, the Steelers have 3 wide receivers in, 3rd and 11 from their own 31. 5 defensive backs in for Atlanta. The Steelers look like they're expecting a blitz. Quick screen, and it's almost intercepted. Gerald Small almost picked that off.
And you hear the booing. Fans didn't like it.
So let's go to New York once again for an NFL update. Here's Brent Musburger.
Jim, the Eagles, who have won 3 in a row, strike first against the St. Louis Cardinals. Ron Jaworski goes to Vito Cab. Cab's caught only 3 passes this year, and 2 of them have been for touchdowns. Let's go back to Jim.
All right, Brent, thank you very much. So now it is 4th down now for the Steelers. Craig Colquitt set to punt for Pittsburgh. William Curran back at his 25-yard line of the Atlanta Falcons. And Curran will have a chance to return this one at his 29. But not much of a run back at all. Mark Catano. So Mark Catano makes the tackle, and it'll be 1st and 10 for the Atlanta Falcons when we return to Three River Stadium in just a moment. On Dockery, I'm Jim Hill. The Pittsburgh Steelers leading the Atlanta Falcons 7-0. Only 3 seconds left here in the first period at Three River Stadium. 1st and 10 for Atlanta at their own 28-yard line. Steve Bartkowski at quarterback. Gerald Riggs. Lone setback. Trap play to Gerald Riggs. Riggs gets up to the 35-yard line before he's tackled by Donnie Shell.
And there you see one of the advantages, Jim, of that one-back offense. Cliff Benson coming in motion, gets that great angle for the trap, and also has a running start to make the block. Right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are leading because of one play. Riggs fumbles. Woodruff took it back for the touchdown. Atlanta will try to come back when we return.
Dan Henning, the head coach of Falcons, trailing, but somewhat surprised and rather pleased at his Falcons performance, especially on offense. 2nd and 3 from their own 35. Play action pass. Good protection for Bartkowski. Complete to Cliff Benson. And Benson delivers a blow on Eric Williams, knocks him out of bounds, and he picks up enough yardage for the 1st down.
You know, images of Cliff Benson last week knocking Jack Youngblood all around the place. Here, take a look at it again. Bartkowski with the play action fake actually wants to go deep downfield, but both receivers are covered. So wisely, he comes off to Benson, and then take a look what he does right here to Williams. Bingo! Get out of my way. Oh.
They're going to laugh at Eric on that one. When they look at when they look at the films tomorrow. Bartkowski now perfect 6 for 6 for 48 yards. 1st and 10 for the Falcons at their 43-yard line. That's Benson in motion again. Play action pass. Bartkowski going deep. Oh my goodness! Stacey Bailey dropped it.
The criticisms have been that Bartkowski is taking the short dink pass, changing his style. Here, Stacey Bailey, the big play man for the Atlanta Falcons, runs right by Sam Washington. See him try to recover and get a piece of him. No dice. Bailey's wide open by 5 yards, and then he just drops the ball right off his chest. Let it hit him. Jimmy, let it hit his pads first, and that's the reason he dropped it rather than catching it in his hands.
Oh my.
Heartbreak.
It really is. Time of possession in the first quarter. Atlanta, 11 minutes and 13 seconds. Pittsburgh only 3:37. That's really amazing. 2nd and 10 for the Falcons at their own 43-yard line. Bartkowski going back to pass again. Complete at about the Steeler 48-yard line. Sylvester Stamps on the receiving end of that completion. But, you know, you just can't help but think, my goodness, you get a guy wide open for an apparent touchdown like that, and he just drops him, and you say to yourself, what in the world do we have to do to have something good happen to us?
You know, most of the things that take a long bomb were right there. He got good protection. The receiver got wide open. The throw was perfect, and what happens? Like one mistake, he drops the ball. It's all for naught.
3rd and 1, ball at the Steeler 48-yard line. Hand off to Gerald Riggs. Riggs fumbles the ball. But Atlanta gets it back. Tim Tyrell makes the fumble recovery. Oh, that would have been just disastrous to lose another fumble right there.
Almost another disaster, of course, right in the first time Riggs carried, he fumbled, and the Steelers returned it for a touchdown. Here again, that's number 67. Gary Dunn gets a hand in there. The ball pops loose. Fortunate for Atlanta, they recovered, but Jim, they had a 1st down, and they would have kept the drive going, except for that mistakes. Mistakes are killing the Atlanta Falcons early in this game.
And Ralph Giacomo certainly doesn't want to make a mistake punting here. Lewis Lips back to receive for the Steelers. Ball goes out of bounds. And it will be spotted at about the 24-yard line. So that's where the Steelers will take over. 1st and 10 at their own 24-yard line. On a punt by Ralph Giacomo. Pittsburgh leading Atlanta 7-0.
Who is that strange fellow? That wasn't me. That was me in another life. Oh, my goodness.
John Dockery. 1972 to 73. You were part of the beginning of the Steeler tradition, right?
I won't say I had much to do with it, but those were the days when it all started. The dynasty began. 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. Pittsburgh Steelers. A very special place to play with the ownership of the Rooneys and Chuck Noll.
You look like one of the old Western gunfighters with that big mustache there. All right, John, bringing back memories. 1st and 10. Hand off to Walter Abercrombie. And Abercrombie, the third-year man from Baylor, who's coming off a knee injury, is tackled by David Fry.
Of course, Walter Abercrombie was the #1 draft choice back in 1982, and Art Rooney Sr. was in the booth a few minutes ago right before the game, and he and I were talking about Walter Abercrombie, and he sees it as I do, that Abercrombie has enormous potential, and before it's over, he's a man that will contribute to the offense of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, he certainly has, as you mentioned, all the physical tools to do it. Pick up a 4 yards. It's 2nd and 6. Malone back to pass. Good protection. Going down for Weezy Thompson. Weezy Thompson gets up to about the 48-yard line before he's tackled by James Britt. And that's the first down of the afternoon for the Steelers.
The Atlanta Falcons have dominated this game, but they're losing on the scoreboard. Weezy Thompson, the rookie out of Florida State, just finds the seam, but the credit has to go to Mark Malone. His patience. Take a look. He takes a short drop. This ball is designed to be delivered sooner, but he waits. He finally finds that second lane to throw in. Weezy Thompson catches it with his hands for the first down.
And as we mentioned, the first down of the afternoon for Pittsburgh. Inside handoff right up the middle to Frank Pollard. Pollard still loose. Tom Pridemore and Al Richardson in on the tackle.
You don't hear much about Frank Pollard, the 5th-year man out of Baylor, but he leads the Pittsburgh Steelers in rushing with 348 yards coming into the game. Pittsburgh Steelers rushing attack. We were talking about Abercrombie. They need some spark, some dynamism, and that's where we think Abercrombie will provide. Pollard is 5'10", 218. He's that power running back. They need someone to break it away like Franco used to do for them.
Now Rich Erenberg checks back into the backfield for the Steelers. For Abercrombie, 2nd and 5. That's Erenberg in motion. Up the middle to Pollard. And Pollard fumbles the ball, and the Falcons get it back. Mike Pitts. Frank Pollard, who burst into the secondary of the Atlanta Falcons, fumbled the ball, and Mike Pitts picks it up for the Atlanta Falcons.
Frank Pollard's not the type of back designed to go long distance. As a matter of fact, he was laughing yesterday when he says, when I go 5 or 6 yards, I start to run out of gas, and I start looking back for the tackle. Here, he does break through the line. He gets away. And then right there, you see number 37, he makes the hit. Kenny Johnson causes a fumble, and Pitts picks it up. Atlanta gets a break. Makes a break. And that's something the defense hasn't been doing that much of, Jim.
That's a great description of it. They make their own breaks. They've intercepted a pass this afternoon. They come back, they cause a fumble, and they recover the fumble, and they're still in this ball game right now, trailing 7-0.
And that's the finer points of playing defensive backs. You see him, that right arm, slap at the ball, knock it away. That's not an accident. Atlanta has the ball with a chance to tie.
Fumble returned by Dwayne Woodruff for 65 yards and a touchdown for the Steelers. 7-0 Pittsburgh. 1st and 10 at the Falcon 42-yard line. Boyd Hodge in motion. Hand off to Gerald Riggs, trying to get to the outside. Gerald Riggs. Tackled by Rick Woods.
And Alfred Jackson, the wide receiver, number 85, got a good block on Robin Cole, and that allowed Riggs to get outside. And Riggs, if he continues at this pace, 71 yards already. The entire total for the Pittsburgh Steelers only 45 yards. Riggs is going to have one great afternoon. Of course, he's had him before, Jim.
Remember, he told us yesterday, he said after the bad game on Monday night, he didn't sleep for 2 nights, and if he had to carry the ball 45 or 50 times, he'd do it today.
The man will do whatever it takes to get a victory here, and they need it very, very badly.
Steelers taking a blitz, and here it is. Pass is complete to Floyd Hodge. Hodge gets across the 40-yard line into about the 39-yard line of Pittsburgh before he's tackled there by Dwayne Woodruff and Rick Woods.
And Floyd Hodge, of course, is the man who's replacing Billy White Shoes Johnson, third year out of Utah. Take a look at it. That H-back, so important. Benson, the H-back, he blocks upfield and gives Hodge a little more room to run. Take a look at it. Big, 6'4", 234. The mismatch on a defensive back right there. See him blocking 49, Dwayne Woodruff.
Here's Gerald Riggs. Riggs gets down to about the 35-yard line, 36-yard line of the Steelers before he's tackled by Brian Hinkle and Jack Lambert. So surprisingly, are you surprised that the Falcons are having as much success as they are running?
I am a little bit surprised because the Pittsburgh Steelers are the 4th best defense in the NFL, the 6th best against the run. So this is a solid defensive team, and Atlanta's just shredding them.
And Tony Dungy told us yesterday that one thing that he fears is a team running against his defense. Hand off to Riggs again. Riggs bullying his way inside the 35 to about the 34-yard line. Tackle made by Gary Dunn.
Jim, what's happening around the rest of the league? Any idea?
We have a lot of scores going on right now. No score right now between the New Orleans Saints and the Cleveland Browns in the second quarter. Houston leading Cincinnati 7-0. That's quite a surprise. The Oilers haven't won a game so far this year. It is the Jets over New England 3-0. Green Bay leading Detroit 14-3 in the second quarter. And Chicago over Minnesota 13-0 in the second period. Riggs now 16 carries, 59 yards. 3rd and 3. Bartkowski to pass. Blitz is on, and he's tackled by Brian Hinkle.
And you see Gerald Riggs jumping up and down, number 42, saying, goodness gracious, why didn't I make that block? And you have to wonder if William Andrews would have looked outside. Take a look at it right here. See Riggs look inside. He doesn't get back outside and make the block. The linebacker comes unmolested, number 43. Take a look at it from the far side. See Riggs in the middle of your screen. He looks inside, doesn't get back outside, so Bartkowski has no time because Hinkle has a free run at the quarterback from the blind side. Good way to lose your quarterback.
The third punt of the afternoon for Ralph Giacomo. Lewis Lips back to receive for Pittsburgh. Giacomo going away from Lips. The ball goes into the end zone for a touchback. So the Steelers will have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line. 8 minutes, 45 seconds left to go in the first half. And the Steelers, on a touchdown fumble recovery for a touchdown by their defense, lead the Atlanta Falcons. We'll be back in just a moment. Unusually warm for this time of the year, mid-70s. Steelers have the lead over the Falcons, 1st and 10 at the Steeler 20. Mark Malone at quarterback. Handoff to Abercrombie. Tackle made by Kenny Johnson and also Fulton Kuykendall.
And you have to wonder if Abercrombie keeps running like that, he just might get out of Chuck Noll's doghouse.
Well, you should know something about being in Chuck Noll's doghouse. I'm not saying that you were in his doghouse.
I was
playing.
there.
Oh, you were?
Sure.
What I was getting at, playing for him here for a couple of years, you know, you've seen and know what it's like for people to be there.
It's a very simple, straightforward philosophy. Chuck Noll demands excellence, performance, and effort. If you give it to him, you'll play. If you don't, you'll sit.
Pickup of 7, 2nd and 3 from the 27. Hand off to Frank Pollard. Pollard tackled by Roy Harris as he gets up close to the 30-yard line, and it's going to be close enough for a measurement of the first down.
You talk a little bit about number 34, Walter Abercrombie, as he was blocking for Pollard right there, and they did get the first down. They didn't even have to go for the measurement. Frank Pollard, one of those steady workman type of fullbacks, a good blocker, a good power runner up the middle, but Abercrombie's the guy with flash who can make it happen. Some of the people said maybe he took a little too long to come back from a couple of his injuries, and that Chuck Noll didn't particularly like that.
Play action pass. Into and out of the hands of Abercrombie. Ball could have been thrown a little bit softer, but still, ball should have been caught.
A little bit more touch. It was kind of a strange-looking play with the quarterback, Malone, rolling out same direction Abercrombie. It looked like Abercrombie was thinking about blocking more than actually making the reception. Mark Malone not having much of an afternoon with those kinds of stats, but still, Steelers are winning 7-zip on that fumble recovery early by Woodruff for the touchdown.
2nd and 10 now for the Steelers. Malone back to pass. Good protection. Complete to Abercrombie. Abercrombie goes out of bounds at the 32-yard line. Tackled by Jeff Jackson.
You know, if Abercrombie looks a little awkward, and I mean, it's because he hasn't played much this season. He carried only a couple of times last week against the Colts, and there you look at for 84. He hasn't played that much. He's a little bit rusty. He needs to get back in the rhythm, the groove. They got to give him the ball 10, 15, 20 times so that he can find that rhythm that a running back needs.
And certainly rhythm is one of the most important things for a running back. 3rd and 8, ball at the 32.
As well as for a quarterback, and Mark Malone has not found the rhythm yet.
That's right. Malone back to pass. Complete to Rich Erenberg. Erenberg hit by Kenny Jackson, but there is a flag on the play.
And when you see this replay, Jim, I want you to watch Erenberg and tell me if he didn't push off on Al Richardson, number 56, the linebacker, who was trying to cover him. I think it was offensive pass interference, and that's what he's calling. Erenberg out of the backfield, comes on the linebacker. Linebacker has good position. Richardson, what does he do? Gives him a push, runs away, makes the reception. That's why he was so wide open.
Pass interference. Number 24 on the offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
So the ball is brought back to the 22-yard line.
Rich Erenberg, of course, the rookie out of Colgate, a big surprise, drafted in the 9th round, told me, you know what, I didn't really prepare for this season because I only really expected to be here about a week or two in preseason. Now here he is, the starting running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 9th game of the year.
And doing a good job, with the exception of the pass interference. Here's Malone on 3rd down, pumping, throwing down the middle, complete to John Stallworth. And it looks like Stallworth is hurt. Stallworth tackled at the 45-yard line by Kenny Johnson. But it looks like Stallworth is hurt. He got hit in the back, slow getting up, and as you and I both know, that's really what people call a hospital ball. Receivers don't like to see those balls thrown high and down the middle of the field like that.
And this is one of the best years John Stallworth has ever had. He says, I'm injury-free, I'm more relaxed. That time, Bobby Butler slipped, but got back up, got underneath Stallworth. He appears to be all right going to the bench, Jim.
That's good news for Steeler fans. This is the 3rd punt of the afternoon for Craig Colquitt. William Curran back to receive for the Falcons. This one should be returned. Flag on the play. Curran gets up to about the 44-yard line, but there is a flag on the play. William Curran, who is trying to fill the shoes of Billy White Shoes Johnson in the punt return area of the field.
Tough shoes to fill, not just from a punt return standpoint. I mean, there is a difference in actual yardage. We'll wait for the officials' call, and then we'll talk a little more about Billy White Shoes.
Number 78 on the kicking team, illegally downfield. Number 25 on the receiving team, illegal block from behind. Penalties offset, repeat 4th down.
You know, Jim, you and I both played a lot of years of defensive back, and there are only so many players on a team that can spark emotionally and do that. And certainly Billy was one of those for the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, you look at the difference there. What is it, 7.5, 8 yards difference in actual yardage? But it's those sparks, those flashes, that anticipation that Billy White Shoes Johnson would make things happen. Remember last year? He won a couple of games for them.
Sure is. It's the idea of having someone who is a threat. And just the idea of that threat in the back of your mind can really create a lot of big plays by other people.
You know, game breakers may be a cliche, but it's actually true. You need those guys to be a winning football team.
Colquitt set to punt again. Line drive. William Curran fumbles the ball, and it goes out of bounds at the 34-yard line. So the Falcons get very lucky and dodge the bullet once again.
You don't mean to jinx William Curran there. He fumbled. It was lucky that ball went out of bounds, but you know, they missed Billy tremendously. They lost William Andrews. Yeah, he was a factor, but Gerald Riggs is a major league talent. Here, Curran, the ball just flips out of bounds. They dodged a bullet. The Atlanta Falcons do.
So Steve Bartkowski comes back in to try and get a drive started for the Falcons. They trail the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we'll be back in just a moment. Steeler bench on John Stallworth is that he's okay, no injury, and he should be back in the next time the Steelers have the ball. But right now, the Falcons on Steve Bartkowski. And Bartkowski, a pretty good afternoon so far. 8 of 9 or 69 yards. First and 10 at their own 34. Benson in motion. Play action pass. Good protection. Flag is down. It's complete to Alfred Jackson. Jackson driven out of bounds by Dwayne Woodruff. Dwayne Woodruff, who has returned a fumble for a touchdown this afternoon, is in on the tackle. But there is a flag on the play.
Alfred Jackson went downfield. Exactly. He pushed off Dwayne Woodruff and came back to the ball. Woodruff had great coverage on him. He settled on Jackson. Jackson made his play about 15 yards in the move area where the defensive back.
Pass interference. Number 85, offense. Repeat, first down.
Let's take a look at the penalty again. The move area for a running back, for a receiver, is about 15 yards. See him push off Woodruff right there and then come back to the ball. That's the reason he had so much room to make the reception. All nullified by the penalty, though.
So it pushes the Falcons back inside their 25 to about their own 24-yard line, where it will be first and 20. 7 minutes and 2 seconds left to go in the first half. Bartkowski trying to get something going for Atlanta. Play action pass. Quick out in the flat. Incomplete. No one around. Stacey Bailey running downfield. Didn't look, but there is another flag on the play.
Bartkowski's pass is incomplete. Flag on the play.
Illegal procedure against Atlanta. That particular time, Bailey wasn't even looking.
And all of those offensive linemen were very anxious to get out in front of that screen. That's the penalty.
Illegal formation. Number 62, offense, not up on the line of scrimmage. Penalty declined. Second down.
Second down and 20.
So Dan Henning is thoroughly disgusted right now. Even though he's trailing by only 7, he's had many opportunities to get some points on the board, but his team just has not capitalized on them.
Dan Henning was very honest. He said, my offense and Steve Bartkowski have not played up to their potential the last few weeks.
Here's Bartkowski with good protection. Dumps it off to Gerald Riggs. Riggs gets away from one Steeler tackler. Pushes his way over the 35, up to about the 36-yard line before he's tackled by Sam Washington. Now for an NFL update, let's go to Brent Musburger in New York.
Jim, here's the play of the day so far for the Eagles, who are looking for their 4th victory in a row. It's Mike Quick from Ron Jaworski. It's a 90-yard touchdown. Now, subsequently, the Cardinals went on a drive, stalled out, and they kicked a field goal. It's 14-10 Eagles. Back to Jim.
Thank you very much, Brent. What a play that was, huh?
What a play. He's appropriately named, isn't he, Mike Quick? He is quick.
Certainly is. But the Falcons would like to score, and they'd like to score quick here this afternoon, trailing 7-0. Bartkowski in the pocket. Good protection. Pass is complete to Arthur Cox. Cox driven out of bounds at the 45-yard line of the Atlanta Falcons, but there is a penalty on the play. Tackle there made by Harvey Clayton. Another penalty, apparently against the Falcons, and when you see this one in this area, more times than not, as we all know, it's holding.
He had a lot of time to throw the ball. You have to be suspect of the offensive line.
Illegal use of the hand. Number 62, offense. Repeat, third down.
That penalty against Brett Miller. What in the world do the Falcons have to do? I mean, you know they've lost 2 in a row. They play Washington next week. They have the Steelers this week. They lost to the Rams last week. They lost to the Giants the week before. There's all kinds of controversy going on in Atlanta. The owner is criticizing the play of the team, and now they come out this afternoon. They drop an apparent touchdown pass. They fumbled 2 or 3 times, have 2 or 3 penalties in a row. Let's see if Bartkowski can get going now. Inside handoff to Lynn Kane. Lynn Kane gets up to about the 37-yard line, but once again, John, another penalty flag.
You can't have a consistent offense with penalties and disruptions like the Atlanta Falcons have had. They're playing nervous ball. They're just not consistent. Too many mistakes.
Holding and illegal procedure. That's double trouble.
Double trouble. And puts Bartkowski in a situation he doesn't want to be in. It's going to be third and probably 25, 30 yards.
Minutes and 56 seconds left to go in the first half. That's Dwayne Woodruff talking to referee Gordon McCarter. Woodruff already this afternoon has a lone touchdown for the Steelers on a fumble recovery.
Illegal formation. Offensive lineman not up on the line of scrimmage. That penalty is declined. Holding, number 57 offense, accepted. Repeat, third down.
That penalty against Jeff Van Note. Here's some scores in the NFC's Eastern Division. It's Dallas over Indianapolis, 7-0. Of course, Danny White's back at starting quarterback position for the Cowboys. Philadelphia, you just saw Mike Quick score, leading St. Louis 14-0.
And St. Louis needs a win and that to stay abreast of the Washington Redskins and the New York Giants. Of course, the Redskins need a victory. Dallas winning, and St. Louis, you bet they're going to come back against Philadelphia. So the Redskins have to get a victory against the Giants in the game coming up next here on CBS.
Right now, Bartkowski back to pass. Throws a screen to the other direction to Sylvester Stamps. And Sylvester Stamps is blasted. Brian Hinkle and Jack Lampert in on a tackle for Pittsburgh. And now, what the Falcons are in danger of is after all those holding penalties, giving up the ball to the Steelers in good field positions. This is the fourth punt of the afternoon for Ralph Giacomo and the ever-dangerous Louis Lips back to receive for Pittsburgh.
The special teams have been a problem for the Falcons. They had one returned against them last week. Eller.
But not this time. Louis Lips driven out of bounds at the Steeler 45-yard line. And that's where Pittsburgh will take over first and 10. Tackle there made by Mike Landrum. So Mark Malone and his Pittsburgh Steeler teammates come back out on the field with 5 minutes and 8 seconds left to go in the first half. Have punted their last 4 possessions. Give it up once again to the Steelers. It will be first and 10 for Pittsburgh at their own 46-yard line. Frank Pollard and Walter Abercrombie in the backfield for Pittsburgh. Inside handoff to Walter Abercrombie. Tackle made by Tom Benson. Up to about the 50-yard line. Scores. New Orleans and Cleveland tied at 7 in the second period. Cincinnati leading Houston 14-7 also in the second period. It is Kansas City over Tampa Bay 7-0 in the second quarter. The Jets leading New England 10-3. Green Bay touchdown pass by Lynn Dickey. They lead the Detroit Lions. 2nd and 6 at the 50-yard line. Let's call it in motion. Inside handoff again to Walter Abercrombie. And there's another flag on the play. Abercrombie tackled by Tom Benson. This is really turning into this particular time of the game right now into a comedy of errors. Offsides against Atlanta.
And the comedy of errors mostly on the Atlanta Falcons at the moment. Penalties, problems offensively and defensively at the moment.
Offside, number 69, defense, repeat, second down.
That's Dan Benish. Penalties up to this point, there's a look at them right now. Only one against the Steelers for 10 yards. But the Falcons, the penalties against them have really killed drives that they potentially had to go down the field and maybe get a score. 2nd and 1 now, ball at the 45. Mark Malone back to pass. Solid protection. Complete to Gerald Nelson. Gerald Nelson filling in for the injured Benny Cunningham. Tackle made by Jeff Jackson.
And, of course, the tight end position has been a problem with Benny Cunningham being hurt. Their other tight end hurt. This is the first pro catch for Darrell Nelson, the rookie out of Memphis State. Just comes behind the zone, makes the catch, and makes sure of it. See him huddling it there. Oh, this is my first in the NFL. I don't want to drop.
That's his first catch in the NFL, but that's only the 9th catch by tight ends of the Steelers all year long.
Has not exactly been a productive spot. Well, the Steelers have always been known to throw to their outside receivers.
Here's Abercrombie. He's tackled by David Fry behind the line of scrimmage. He'll lose about a yard. So the Atlanta Falcons, who are playing well at times, but then at times are not playing well because of penalties, are only down by 7 points. 2nd and 10, all at the 26-yard line of the Falcons. 3 minutes and 15 seconds left to go in the first half. A quick toss to Frank Pollard. Pollard gets to the outside before he's tackled by Rick Bryan. Gets down to about the 20-yard line. What was that Frank Pollard told us yesterday? He says he doesn't like AstroTurf that much, but whatever it takes, he'll certainly do it.
And he does it for the Steelers in a very, very steady fashion, as we mentioned before.
Not the flashy kind of runner, but the steady, consistent one that is produced for the Steelers this afternoon. The Steelers, 3rd and 4 at the 20. Here's Mark Malone. Going deep into the end zone for Stallworth at 6. Mark Malone to John Stallworth. 20 yards for a score.
Kenny Johnson, number 37, was inside, had some coverages. For some reason, he let Stallworth run right by him. Malone put the ball on the line. He has that strong arm, thus the touchdown.
Stallworth having the best year in a long, long time for him. Gary Anderson in to attempt the extra point conversion as Colquitt will hold. And it's good.
One of the reasons Stallworth is having such a great year is that he's injury-free. Last year, he only played 4 games. This time, watch him. He's down the seam. You'll see the left side of your screen. Malone drills the ball on the line. You'll see right there, Kenny Johnson. He's too short. Malone throws it over his head. Touchdown, John Stallworth. Take a look at Malone. You think he's not happy? This is only the 4th time he started in 5 years. He's got his Steelers on top, and he says, yes, let's do it. Also a chance for Mark Malone to take his shot at possibly starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have a comfortable lead here in the 2nd quarter.
Scoring drive. The Steelers take 5 plays, go 54 yards, take up 2 minutes and 44 seconds, capped off Mark Malone to John Stallworth, 20 yards for a touchdown, and they now lead the Atlanta Falcons 14-0. Sylvester Stamps back to receive deep for the Falcons. And this one goes deep into the end zone, 5 yards deep, and Stamps decides that he better down it right there, so the Falcons will have it 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line. Oh, next weekend we have 2 World Boxing Championship bouts going on for you right here on CBS. Billy Costello going against Leroy Haley. That's going to be a good one right there, John.
And that's a 2nd title defense, and he's doing it at home before the hometown crowd in Kingston, New York.
The former #1 contender right there, and Leroy Haley. Another one, the WBC World Super Bantamweight Championship. Jaime Garza going against Juan Mesa.
Who would be crazy enough to climb in the ring against Garza? 40-0, 38 by knockouts.
Plus special performances, the 1984 World Figure Skating Championships. 1st and 10, Bartkowski, quick pass out to Boyd Hodge. Boyd Hodge getting over at the 30 up to about the 32-yard line before it's tackled by Mike Merriweather. Also, Donnie Shell in on the tackle.
The 2-minute warning is coming up. It's almost here, and Bartkowski has to get some points on the board to give his Falcons a lift before they go into the locker room. An important drive for Bartkowski. Dan Henning.
You know, getting anything on the board right now, a field goal, just something to lift them up, lift their spirits before they go in for halftime. We'll be back in just a moment. Here at Three River Stadium. I'm Jim Hill along with John Dockery. Both teams have 3 timeouts remaining. The Steelers leading the Falcons 14-0. Handoff to Gerald Riggs. Riggs hit first behind the line of scrimmage by Sam Washington. Surprise, John?
A little bit of a surprise. This is a point where you have 3 timeouts left. You have all the time in the world. You got to try to go for it, to get something on the board. You can't be playing defensive offense. It just won't work. And it's also a suggestion that you're beaten, that you're in a defeatist frame of mind, and that's what Dan Henning is concerned about, that his team is not thinking positive.
2nd and 13. Play action pass. Bartkowski scrambling around. The nearest Falcon receiver was Gerald Riggs, and there is a flag on the play. Gordon McCarter calls intentional grounding against Bartkowski. So it is one mistake after another. The snowball rolling against the Falcons right now, getting them deeper and deeper into a hole, and they're lucky, really, to be trailing 14-0.
Illegal forward pass, intentional grounding, number 10 on the offense. 10-yard penalty, loss of down, will be 3rd.
A devastating penalty because, as you just heard, it's a 10-yard penalty and it's a loss of down. Here he's chased out of the pocket by Goodman, number 95. He's not the most mobile quarterback. He just throws the ball away. Had he been able to get it up a little bit higher and throw it out of bounds over Riggs' head, that wouldn't have been called, but he just threw it to the turf. Referee was standing right there, called the penalty.
Did you get the impression, talking to Bartkowski yesterday, that he's a little puzzled about everything that's going on, and he's just kind of backing off from the whole situation?
I get a little bit of a feeling like that. What you want here, as you look at the statistics on Bartkowski, is a quarterback who, like Theismann, will say, hey, you give me 50 seconds and 2 timeouts, and boy, I'll put something on the board. That's the kind of attitude you need as a quarterback. You got to lead, you got to lift, you got to be with a touch of arrogance, much like the good ones the Montanas have it, the Joe Willie Namaths had it, Bradshaw had a touch of it.
Dan Fouts.
Dan Fouts.
When the spot of intentional grounding is more than 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage, the ball is left at the spot of the foul.
And that should be clear enough. 1:19 left to go in the first half.
No clarification necessary. Tough spot for him now. He does not need to throw an interception. If I were them right now, I'd try to run it out. But you know, the Pittsburgh Steelers have 3 timeouts left, so they might get the ball back with a chance to score again.
3rd and 23. Ball at the 19-yard line of the Falcons. Bartkowski, there's a mix-up in the backfield. Oh, it's really going bad for him now.
Everything's going bad. The wheels are coming off the wagon, as they say. Confusion. Disorganization. Of course, Monday night against the Rams, there was a lot of that too. The Rams just buried them. Now the Pittsburgh Steelers will probably call a timeout, and they've just taken a timeout.
1:14 left to go in the first half. And you know what the Steelers are trying to do right now. They want to get the ball in good field position. They want 7 points. They don't want 3.
And we mentioned at the beginning of this show that the Pittsburgh Steeler offense has not had the killer instinct. The message during the week, the Pittsburgh Steelers lost to the Baltimore Colts by 1 point last week on that last play, Hail Mary tip pass. The Colts run it in. The message was the Steelers shouldn't have been in that position, Jim. Right now, they want to bury this team and not give the Falcons a chance to come back by getting some points right now before the half.
And they want their offense to do it, an offense that has been riddled by injuries. The Steelers have had 5 different starters at 2 wide receiver positions, 4 starters at 2 running backs. They have had 3 starting tight ends, 4 starting guards, and 4 starting tackles. So they've had a multitude of starters there. Ralph Giacomo, as Lewis slips back to receive for Pittsburgh. Giacomo gets off a good punt. Lips covers the ball at the 36. Penalty flags down. Lewis Lips tackled at the 47-yard line. But as we mentioned, there are flags on the play. Al Richardson in on the tackle. 1 minute and 1 second left to go in the first half.
And you mentioned an offense riddled by injuries. Of course, the quarterback, David Woodley, not playing today. He was the man that came out of the preseason quarterback battle as the starting quarterback for Chuck Noll's Pittsburgh Steelers. But they're comfortable. They've given Malone a lot of practice time. He's performed well for them. 2 weeks ago, he beat the San Francisco 49ers. Today, he's having a reasonable afternoon, and his team is winning.
Illegal block. Number 26, receiving team during the return. 10-yard penalty, 1st and 10.
That penalty called against Scoop Gillespie.
1st and 10, Pittsburgh ball on their own.
Take a look at Lewis Lips again. He almost bobbles this. Lewis is looking, he tries to catch it off his pads, bounces it once, comes right up to him like a basketball player dribbling. They were lucky.
They certainly were, and a good punt by Giacomo. Inside handoff to Frank Pollard. Pollard gets up to about the 37-yard line before it's tackled by Kenny Johnson. And the Steelers in their hurry-up offense. 50 seconds left to go in the first half. The Steelers have 2 timeouts left. Plenty of time to get something on the board. Mark Malone back to pass. Out in the flat. Complete to Erenberg, who gets out of bounds at the 43-yard line. Driven out there by Gerald Small. This can be, you know, with the Steelers having as many problems as they've had in their offensive line, this could be a tremendous confidence builder for them if they can move the ball down the field now.
Exactly right. It's almost like an exercise, even if they don't get points on the board, which obviously they're trying to do. It's a great exercise for the entire offense and also for Mark Malone, who has played so little in his career, only started 4 games in 5 years.
1st and 10 for the Steelers at the 44-yard line. Here's Malone again. The protection breaks down. The pass is intended for John Stallworth, incomplete. Bobby Butler covering for Atlanta.
And Mike Pitts, number 74, was all over Malone. Malone wanted to throw the ball outside so his receiver could get out of bounds. He could save his timeout. But the defensive backs from the Falcons were standing on the outside expecting that. So he had to throw inside. He got the pressure, incomplete.
Coming up at halftime, scores and highlights with Brandon Irv. Also, we'll feature our legends of the game. This time, Larry Brown, super running back for the Washington Redskins. 34 seconds left to go in the first half. Malone with good protection. Intended for Stallworth, too long for him. Bobby Butler covering again for the Falcons. But the Steelers still have 2 timeouts left. You know, we talked to, when Malone told us yesterday, he said one of the things that he used to worry about a lot was having to pick up a great deal of yardage. You know, 2nd and long, 3rd and long. But he said now that he's learned to adjust to that particular situation.
He really has. He's growing as a quarterback. One of the reasons that he is growing is that Chuck Noll has given him just about half the time in practice, and they want Malone to be ready in case Woodley does go down. Nice to have 2 quarterbacks who can step in and win games for him.
Malone is 5 of 11 for 69 yards. 28 seconds left to go in the first half. Malone throwing deep, and it's intercepted. Kenny Johnson. Johnson hurdles a couple of tacklers, gets out of bounds about the 35-yard line.
So it turns around for Malone. He wants to be aggressive. He wants to be positive. That's his attitude. I mean, he's a man that believes in confidence, concentration. He has that little sign in his locker that says exactly that. Here, he just overthrows his receiver, and he gives the Falcons a chance to get back on the board. Watch, see Stallworth? He just overthrows him. Kenny Johnson makes the interception, returns it for the Falcons, and actually gives them a chance to get back on the board, to get on the board with 17 seconds left in the half. They're trailing 14-0.
The 2nd interception of the afternoon thrown by Mark Malone. 1st and 10 for the Falcons at the Steeler 35-yard line. The Falcons have 3 timeouts. Lloyd Hodge in motion. Inside reverse to Hodge. Hodge gets by Sam Washington. Driven out of bounds inside the 30, down to about the 27-yard line there by Keith Garrett.
A nice move by Hodge. You got a little help from Stacy Bailey, who was occupying the defensive back on that side, Sam Washington. Hodge put a good move inside, broke outside, and got out of bounds. Getting out of bounds is not that essential right now because, as you mentioned, they have 3 timeouts left. Boy, would they love to get it in the end zone. With 10 seconds, Jim, they have a shot to go down into the end zone, maybe get a touchdown on one play, and then come and kick the field goal.
You would think that they would have at least 2 chances of throwing the ball into the end zone, right?
A good shot. 2nd
and 2, ball at the 27. The Falcons trail by 14. 10 seconds left to go in the first half. Here's Bartkowski. And it's complete to Hodge. Hodge is tackled and driven out of bounds. I'd rather driven down there at about the 22-yard line. There's a timeout on the field by the Falcons. Tackle made by Mike Merriweather. So that...
Excuse me, John. I was just going to say a sensible play by Steve Bartkowski. Rather than throwing the interception, what he does, he takes the safe play, completion, moves the ball a little closer for the field goal shot.
So Bartkowski gets his teammates into field goal range. Coming up at halftime, Brandon Irv scores and highlights, plus our featured legends of the game. And Larry Brown is truly a legend in the game of professional football. Oh,
Larry Brown. Remember him, the undersized back with the big heart? Remember he led the NFL in 1970 with over 1,200 yards. He was a good one.
Mick Luckhurst attempting a 40-yard field goal. He's 2 for 5 from this area of the field. And it's good. That in itself, as the clock runs out, has got to be somewhat of an emotional boost for the Falcons, who are very lucky to be down 14-3 right now.
No doubt about it. The 3 points mean something. There's no doubt about it. You're trailing by 11, but emotionally, psychologically, the Falcons need a lift. They just got it on that drive. They'll come back in the second.
It is dark and overcast. Mark Malone filling in for the injured David Woodley has thrown a touchdown pass, a 20-yard strike to John Stallworth, as the Pittsburgh Steelers lead the Atlanta Falcons 14-3. I'm Jim Hill along with John Dockery. And John, you know, we talked a little while ago about the Falcons have played well in spurts, but they have had a lot of things to go against them.
They certainly have. And when you look at the statistics, actually, the Falcons hold the edge. They've had the ball almost twice as much as the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's really quality of possession, not quantity. And the Steelers lead this game 14-3.
Sylvester Stamps back to receive deep for the Falcons. He takes it 3 yards deep in the end zone. Sylvester Stamps gets up to about the 20-yard line.
Stopped by Sweeney.
Coming up next, right here on CBS, the second half of our doubleheader, the Washington Redskins against the New York Giants, and it'll be also the San Francisco 49ers going against the Los Angeles Rams.
Oof, the Washington Redskins got to have that. They have the St. Louis Cardinals and the Dallas Cowboys breathing down their necks, a tie in the NFC East for first place, a three-way.
And also the Rams, who trail the 49ers by 2 games in the NFC Western Division, they need a victory this afternoon, too. But here at Three River Stadium, the Falcons really need a win in order to stay in contention in the West. They trail 14-3. First and 10 at the 20. The handoff to Gerald Riggs. Riggs darting his way, getting out of bounds at about the 25-yard line before Sam Washington drives him out of bounds.
And Gerald Riggs has really been the spark plug for the Atlanta Falcons. In one way, he was the man that hurt him early when he fumbled and it was returned. But look at this, 18 rushes for 61 yards. That's a nice half of rushing for Gerald Riggs.
And it also says a great deal about the offensive blocking of the Atlanta Falcons as we look outside now, and it's starting to rain. So when it rains, especially on artificial turf, then the running game becomes even more important.
Exactly. It also gets a little bit slippery, and I wonder how Riggs will like it with his sore ankle.
2nd and 5 now. Play action pass. The fake to Riggs. Bartkowski dumps it off to Riggs. Gerald Riggs across the 30, up to about the 32-yard line before he's tackled by David Little. Picks up enough yardage for the first down.
And Merriweather put tremendous pressure, number 57 from the outside, put pressure on Bartkowski. Bartkowski did what every good quarterback should do in that situation. He stepped up into the pocket, and he kept his composure and made the completion. Take a look at the outside, right-hand side of your screen. See that? 57, what does he do? He finds Riggs. Riggs makes the run afterwards. Take a look at Merriweather. So quick from the outside. Look at that, having trouble with him. Arthur Cox trying to block him. Bartkowski helped out by stepping up.
Here's Bartkowski, play action pass again. Going deep, intended for Alfred Jackson. There's a fight for the ball, and the Steelers have it. Dwayne Woodruff.
His third interception of the year. This is actually a pretty good throw. Jackson just doesn't go up and get it. Woodruff wants it more. He goes up. Watch his hands. Good hands, takes it right away from Alfred Jackson. They're battling as they go down. Woodruff comes down with it. He shuts down a potential scoring drive by the Falcons. Steelers lead 14-3 here in Pittsburgh.
It again, turning it over to their offense after an interception by Dwayne Woodruff. Pittsburgh has the ball 1st and 10 at their own 22-yard line. Frank Pollard, the lone setback for Pittsburgh. And he gets the handoff. Frank Pollard over the 25 to about the 26-yard line before he's tackled there by Buddy Curry and Rick Bryan.
And you saw Ray Snell, number 72, a good block right there, filling in. This is his first start for the Steelers.
This telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League, and it is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the National Football League is prohibited. Gordon McCarter, the referee today, is calling timeout. He's bringing Blake Wingle to the sideline. Looks like it may be some kind of equipment.
He took off his helmet. That's Ralph Berlin, the equipment manager. Something wrong with his face mask, it appeared, and there's Ralph taking it over to the sideline. Ralph has been here for 100 years.
You know him, don't you?
Oh, sure do.
Looks like it's a broken face mask is what it is. Randy Rasmussen fills in there for Blake Wingle.
Ralph's actually the trainer. He's not the equipment man. And there are some scores here in New Orleans over Cleveland, 10-7.
That in the third period. Also, Cincinnati over Houston, 17-7 in the third quarter. And Tampa Bay and Kansas City tied at 7 in the third period. The Jets over New England, 20-6 in the third quarter. Here it's 14-3 Pittsburgh. 13 minutes and 9 seconds left to go in the third period. Frank Pollard in motion. Inside handoff to Walter Abercrombie. Abercrombie tackled by Rick Bryan and Buddy Curry.
And you talk to Buddy Curry and the Atlanta Falcon defense, and you find out why it's so much trouble playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steeler offensive philosophy, their offensive line, which gives a guy like Curry trouble, is almost a dinosaur in the league now. They have those small offensive linemen. They're a great trap blocking team. Most of the other teams have gone to the huge hog-like Washington scheme of the big offensive lineman, the straightaway power game. Steelers still do that trapping game as well as anyone. They've done it well for 20 years.
3rd and 1. Ball at the 31. 2 tight ends now for the Steelers. A handoff to Frank Pollard. Pollard spins his way over the 30 up to about the 34-yard line. That's good enough for the first down. Tackle made by Kenny Johnson. And the weatherman was correct in his prediction. It is starting to rain, and it is continuing to rain ever since the third period began here.
And look at Frank Pollard, 9 rushes, already having a good afternoon. He's one of those low-to-the-ground guys, and he knows it's an advantage when only 5'10", 220 pounds.
Doesn't make any difference what the weather is. The fans here in Pittsburgh are out. Abercrombie again. Walter Abercrombie up across the 40 to about the 43-yard line. Tackled by Kenny Johnson. That's the flash that you were talking about a little while ago.
Exactly. You got back with that quick cutting ability, that fine speed. Of course, at Baylor, he did so many things well. That's why the Steelers drafted him #1 in 1982. They felt he was the man that was eventually going to replace Franco Harris.
2nd and 2 now. Ball at the 43. Abercrombie again. Tripped up by Don Smith.
And I say Abercrombie replaced Franco Harris. Harris, of course, was a fullback. Abercrombie is more of a halfback type. But in terms of carrying the load for the ground game of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they really need someone to do it. Pollard's a good workman-like back. Erenberg, the rookie out of Colgate, has played well, but this man has the potential to be something special.
And Erenberg checks into the ball game now for Abercrombie. 3 wide receivers in for the Steelers. Third and 4. 10:38 left to go in the third period. Handoff to Pollard. Bursting his way up the middle of the field. Tackle made by Tom Pridemore. Across the 45-yard line, and it is good enough for the first down.
And you sense at the line of scrimmage that the Steelers are taking hold of this game. Mike Webster, Emil Burris, Snell. Ilkin, taking control of the line of scrimmage, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing what they wanted to do coming into this game. They're running the ball and taking control of the clock.
And you have to take your hat off to this offensive line because Mike Webster, the center, the veteran center, is the only person up there playing in his regular position this afternoon.
Exactly. Wolfley's out. Larry Brown is out. A couple of their starters are gone.
Complete to John Stallworth. Stallworth inside the 45 to about the 43-yard line. Another first down for the Steelers. Good reception by John.
Oh, look at those numbers. Over 6,000 yards for his career. You know, people used to talk about Lynn Swann. When I first saw them, I covered them both. I thought Stallworth was as good as Swann any day, and he's proven it. His longevity, 11 years. Here along the sidelines, how many times have you seen him do this? Knows exactly where he is. Makes the catch inbounds for the first down.
And here's Malone again. Complete to Frank Pollard out of the backfield. Enough yardage for the first down. Inside the 30 to about the 26-yard line. David Fry and Buddy Curry in on the tackle. And the Steelers are on the move.
And Frank Pollard is not known for catching the ball. He says, usually I catch the ball when the quarterback is in trouble and it's an emergency situation. That time he made a good move after he reeled in that reception.
But he did tell us yesterday that he worked on his pass receiving during the offseason. He said at their minicamp, the coaches saw him and they saw how well he was catching the ball. And he said, surprise, surprise, look what I can do now.
Here, 9 receptions, 79 yards total. So he's not their main man out of the backfield, but that time a big game.
Flags on the play. And both sides obviously will accuse the other.
And the official will make the decision.
Gordon McCarter. 9 minutes and 7 seconds left to go in the third period. A very slow drizzle here at Three River Stadium.
False start, most of the offensive line.
Most of the offensive line. A little anxious, little problem with the starting count.
That's one way of paraphrasing a penalty, right? It'll be 1st and 15 for the Steelers. They lead the Falcons 14-3. They have the ball at the Atlanta 30-yard line. Mark Malone at quarterback, and he's back to pass. Good protection. Intended for Erenberg, who makes a great diving catch. James Britt covering for Atlanta.
Rich Erenberg's specialization, of course, part of the game in the 80s in the NFL. Erenberg out of the backfield quick, has a sense of where to go. That time a diving catch right there in front of James Britt for the reception.
Now Erenberg checks out. Walter Abercrombie checks in. Abercrombie getting a little more work this afternoon and doing a good job of it. Pickup of about 10 yards. It'll be 2nd and 5. All at the 20-yard line of Atlanta. Falcons taking the blitz. Inside handoff to Pollard. Pollard down to about the 14-yard line before he's tackled by Buddy Curry. And now for an NFL Today update. Let's go to Brent Musburger in New York.
Jim, the Cardinals now are starting to open up a little daylight on the Eagles. Lomax, for 17 straight games, has thrown at least one touchdown pass. There he is, Doug Marsh, and that's a good combination. They lead by 10. Back to Jim.
Okay, Brent, thank you very much. The St. Louis Cardinals, they have an awesome passing attack.
And they want to hold on to part of that first place in the Eastern Division. Of course, Dallas was winning earlier. Washington plays next here on CBS. Hand off again to Pollard. Pollard across the 15, down to about the 10-yard line. Tackle made by number 23, Bobby Butler. We might have to nickname Pollard the human bowling ball. That time he's just bouncing off pins, making yardage on his own. Frank Pollard, 53 yards already this afternoon, picking up the ground game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it is amazing that the Steelers, remember we saw them earlier this year against the Los Angeles Rams, and the knock on them then was that they couldn't run the ball. They ran the ball very well that day. The knock on them before today's game, they can't run. They're running again. Abercrombie. Down to about the 5, following some great blocking by his lineman. Tackle made by Buddy Curry again, and Kenny Johnson. And the Steelers are taking the wind out of the Atlanta Falcons' sails. We thought after that field goal that just as the half was ending that Dan Henning might take him into the locker room and tell him, as Abercrombie leaves with a slight limp. Of course, his problems over the last couple of years have been knee problems. Here he's rushed 7 times for 32 yards. Probably the most productive game in a long time for Abercrombie, who leaves with an injured ankle.
That means Rich Erenberg will come back in. 6 minutes and 26 seconds left to go in the third quarter. The Steelers have 2 tight ends. Frank Pollard in the backfield now. Erenberg checks up on the wing. 2nd and 5. Play action pass. Right down the middle, and he dropped the ball. Gerald Nelson. Kenny Johnson defending for the Falcons. Gerald Nelson.
Oh, yeah, perfect choice of receivers, though. Mark Malone, he had a receiver on the outside. He had Nelson inside. See him looking outside, then he comes back. Watch this pop, though. The ball was actually dropped before Johnson got to him, but he put the exclamation point on the sentence right there.
Ouija Thompson now checks in for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you know, when you think of Ouija this close to the goal line, you also think of the old alley-oop, because he's 6'6", 210 pounds. Sometimes all you have to do is just lob it up there. He's against Bobby Butler right now. But it's an inside handoff to Pollard, and he scores. Frank Pollard, 5-yard touchdown run. And the Steelers march down the length of the field and put 6 points on the board.
Frank Pollard is a man who's been coming on for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's been actually their leading rusher. And Dan Henning, that smile isn't from joy. It's kind of a smirk saying, hey, gentlemen, what are we doing out here?
Pollard, 30 carries for 60 yards this afternoon. Gary Anderson in for the extra point, and it is good.
But you mentioned Frank Pollard. He's actually led the Steelers in the last 3 games and has been averaging close to 5 yards a carry. Here, just a trap play up the middle. Offensive line does the job. Pollard bounces into the end zone and gives the Steelers a big lead.
And that good blocking by the interior line, led by Mike Webster. There is Frank Pollard. And now the Steelers lead the Atlanta Falcons here in the third quarter. 6:07 left to go. 8 yards. It takes up 7 minutes and 47 seconds off the clock, capped off by Frank Pollard going in from 5 yards out. Getting ready to kick off for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Gary Anderson. Sylvester Stamps back to receive for the Falcons. And here's Stamps at about the 3-yard line. A flag is down, and Stamps runs into one of his own men before he bounces up to about the 19-yard line. Tackle there made by Anthony Corley.
Flag on the play.
Once again, another penalty against the Falcons. And this is the kind of situation, remember we were talking yesterday, and we were told that when the Falcons get behind, that's when they really have their problems. Their offensive attack is not geared to catching up.
Illegal block from behind. Number 53, receiving team during the return. 1st and 10.
That penalty against Thomas Benson.
Jim, exactly right. As you look at Jack Lambert, he dislocated his toe early in the season. It's bothering him. We probably will not see Jack Lambert back in the game this afternoon.
But one thing we may see from the Steelers defense now is to play a soft kind of zone, much like the Los Angeles Rams did against the Falcons on Monday night, making Bartkowski have to throw short and work his way down the field, hoping that they'll create a mistake. The handoff goes to Gerald Riggs. Riggs trying to tiptoe his way around the left end, and he gets nowhere. Sam Washington and Gary Dunn in on the tackle. You
mentioned having the weapons to come from behind. Not many teams have them. It's a time when you need pure speed on the outside. You need a guy like a James Lofton or a Chandler or a Ron Brown. You need someone that can get into that secondary in a hurry and actually run by a defensive back. Alfred Jackson is a good receiver. So is Stacey Bailey. But as you mentioned, the Steelers are in that soft zone. They're not going to give them the big bomb. So Bartkowski's got a real problem.
And it's 2nd and 10. Ball at the 9-yard line. Bartkowski. Counter play. Gerald Riggs. Dwayne Woodruff. And the rest of his Steeler teammates.
Even the Washington Redskins, when their offense gets behind, when they have to come from behind, they have problems. The one-back offense, without extremely talented players, any team has trouble, but the one-back offense also has trouble coming from behind.
And John, it'll be 3rd and 10, ball at the 9-yard line of the Falcons. The Steelers now have 5 defensive backs in. Chris Brown checks into the Steelers secondary. Steve Bartkowski facing a tremendous uphill battle. Jeff Van Oat, number 57, the center of the Falcons, signals to the umpire that he wants the ball rubbed off just a little bit because, as we mentioned, it is raining, and it has continued to rain. It's raining just a little bit harder now here at Three Rivers Stadium. It started just as the second half began. Bartkowski rolling out from his own end zone. Screen pass to Arthur Cox. Cox up to about the 10 to the 11-yard line. Tackle there made by Jack Lampert. You know what he did?
Oh, you can't.
You know what he did, don't you?
He put himself in the game, I'm sure.
Right.
Hey, I'm not about to sit. I've been sitting too long. Let me get back in the game. Big toe. How about the kidding Jack Lambert is taken about his big toe? Whew. And he's certainly part of that Steeler heat. You know, guys saying, Jack Lambert, the tough, fiery Jack Lambert sitting out with a big toe injury.
But as we all know, that toe, that means a lot of balance. You must have the balance in order to play like he has. Up Takamura. High punt, and here's Lewis Lips at the 48. No fair catch, and he gets away. And the man who made the punt, Ralph Takamura, makes the tackle.
When it rains, it pours, folks, and it is raining here on the Atlanta Falcons at Three Rivers Stadium. Take a look at the return again. Lift. How he gets out of this mess, I'll never know. He's hit right there. There are more Falcons. He just wards them off, takes it up the sideline. But for Jackamora making a good play along the sidelines, Lips was gone.
Now also we saw then a couple of missed tackles by the Atlanta Falcons, which allowed Lips to get down inside to about the 31-yard line. We'll be back in just a moment. Looking at the left toe of Jack Lampert. Jack is wearing a special shoe made for today, and it has a steel plate on it, much like on the toe, much like that umpires wear in Major League Baseball.
Jack has had trouble all season long with that toe. You wouldn't think a toe would keep a player like Lambert out of the game, but he said, this is one of the most difficult injuries I've had in my entire career. It just hurts so much when I set up to take on a blocker or a tackler. The pain is excruciating.
But now it's 1st and 10 for the Steelers. The Falcon 31. Mark Malone at quarterback. Inside handoff to Abercrombie. Walter Abercrombie. Tackle at about the line of scrimmage. Maybe he lost about a half a yard. Tackle made by Bobby Butler and Kenny Johnson.
Time for somebody on the Atlanta Falcon team to make something happen. A fumble, an interception, something to turn the momentum of this game. It belongs to the Pittsburgh Steelers at this moment.
And Lynn Dickey has a touchdown pass as the Green Bay Packers lead Minnesota. Chicago over Minnesota by 16. Here it's the Steelers over the Falcons, 21-3. Take the handoff to Pollard. Going down the sideline for Stallworth. And he's got it at the 6. He scores! The second touchdown pass reception today of John Stallworth, and also the second touchdown pass today thrown by Mark Malone. This one good for 31 yards.
And you mentioned Stallworth having one of the best years of his career. Last year he went through injuries, also some contract problems. The Falcon is down on the field. We'll try to identify him for you in just a moment. They're working on him. But Stallworth having a great year. He said last year with that contract problems, he felt he had to live up to the big contract. He felt the pressure. Here, Malone's strong arm gets it between the short zone and the deep zone. You have to throw this ball on the line. See him throw it beyond the cornerback, and then it's just bad tackling right there.
It looks like Scott Pace.
He was the man that missed the tackle and allowed Stallworth to take it in for the touchdown and give the Steelers a commanding lead. So Gary Anderson is in to attempt the extra point conversion
for Pittsburgh, but right now all the attention is on Scott Case on the near sidelines, and as soon as we get an injury report on him, we will give it to you. You know, I remember watching John Stallworth when the Rams lost to the Steelers in the Super Bowl out in Los Angeles. He made great receptions then, and he has seemed to just get even better and better as the years go on.
Oh, he really is. He uses his head. But take a look, and you see number 25, Case, the rookie out of Oklahoma, coming over right here to make the hit. He doesn't wrap his arms. He spins off, goes down to the ground, and that was the injury. Case is still on the ground. They're still working on him.
We get a preliminary report that that it may be his shoulder, his left shoulder.
It certainly looked like the way he hit and the way he spun off, it might have been that as he tried to make the tackle. They're taking him off the field right now. Seems like his left shoulder. He's holding his left arm by his side. This might be the case.
So with 2 minutes and 44 seconds left to go, Dan Henning knows that the rout is on because the Steelers have completely controlled the second half, marching the length of the field a couple of times, taking advantage of a great punt return by Louis Lips, 2 touchdown passes by Mark Malone, and John Stallworth, who has just eaten up the Falcon secondary. So Scott Case is finally off the field, and now Gordon McCarter signals for play to resume. Here's Gary Anderson for the extra point conversion. And it's good. So Gary Anderson is perfect this afternoon. And so are the Pittsburgh Steelers as they lead the Atlanta Falcons 28-3. He's 31 yards, 42 seconds, capped off by Mark Malone going 31 yards to John Stallworth, and that's the 7th time in his great career that John Stallworth has caught 2 or more touchdown passes in a single game. The faithful are still here, and it is still raining. Here's Gary Anderson kicking off for the Steelers. Sylvester Stamps at about the 2. Stamps to the 30. Tripped up and goes down at about the 32-yard line. Tackle there made by Darrell Nelson. Let's check some scores now. The score here, 28-3 in favor of the Steelers. Scores in the Eastern Division. Dallas over Indianapolis, 16-0. It is St. Louis over Philadelphia, 24-14.
I think those clubs don't want to hang on to their part of first place in the NFC East. How about Washington Redskins? Sure, they have one eye on the scoreboard. They're taking on the Giants next here on CBS.
So stay right where you are. 2:33 left to go in the third period. Here's Bartkowski back to pass. Complete to Gerald Riggs. And Gerald Riggs is tackled there by Mike Merriweather and Dwayne Woodruff.
Whew, that NFC East is up for grabs, isn't it? Wow, Dallas winning. How about that miracle in Dallas last week? They trailed by 21. They came back to beat New Orleans, and now they're winning again today. St. Louis also winning. Washington.
3 yards.
It's up for grabs in the NFC East.
Dallas, St. Louis, Washington all tied at 5-3. The Giants in Philadelphia at 4-4.
Giants want a piece of the action also. A win today would put them right in the hunt.
2 minutes left to go in the third period. It's raining harder now. And Bartkowski calls timeout. He's confused.
Timeout.
They may be a little bit discouraged, too, when you're trailing 28-3 with 1:54 left in the third quarter. What do you do? It's a long road back.
You go over and you talk to Dan Henning and see what he has to say. And we'll find out the results when we come back in just a moment from Three Rivers Stadium. The architect of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. He is their defensive coordinator. Only 28 years old, the youngest coordinator in the National Football League, a former player, and what a magnificent job he's done with his defense this year.
He has to be smiling because his defense has only given up 1 first down in the second half.
1:54 left to go in the third period. Here's Bartkowski back to pass. Complete to Cliff Benson. Benson driven out of bounds there by number 49, Dwayne Woodruff.
Okay, 2 first downs.
Okay.
Still, they've been dominant. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense has really been the most consistent thread through this season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. they've really taken this team to a 4-4 while the offensive's been sputtering. Of course, Woodley's been in and out. That's always a problem because quarterback is such a dominant, important position in the NFL. When your quarterback goes down, you really have problems.
But they've done a heck of a job in hanging in there. Also, the division that they're in really helps.
And Mark Malone has helped. He beat San Francisco 2 weeks again. He's on his way to a victory here this afternoon.
1:10 left to go in the third period. Play action pass to Gerald Riggs. Bartkowski throwing deep. Completed to Stacey Bailey. Bailey breaks loose. Bailey down inside the 30. Going back the other way. Gets down to about the 25-yard line and down just inside the 25. That tackle made by Mike Merriweather.
Stacey Bailey is the big play guy for the Atlanta Falcons. Coming into this game, he was averaging close to 20 yards a catch. And Bailey here just does it all on his own. But Bartkowski still has that strong arm. He's one of those players with just dominant talent. Watch the ball come in here. Zip, oh, right in there. And then Bailey does it all. Watch him spin around here. He's not satisfied. He's trying to get the Falcons back in this game by doing all he can to get into that end zone.
Bartkowski, 17 of 21. 147 yards today. Hand off to Gerald Riggs. Riggs tackled by Keith Carey. 15 seconds left to go in the third period. The rain coming down a little bit harder now, and that makes it even more miserable on a team that's trailing, especially when the Falcons are down by 25 points. Time has run out here in the third period. So that's the end of the third quarter. With the score, the Pittsburgh Steelers 28, the Atlanta Falcons 3. We pause now for a word from your local station. It's raining even harder here at Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. 2nd and 7 as we begin the final period. I'm Jim Hill along with John Docker, the Steelers in command, leading 28-3 over the Falcons. Play action pass, Bartkowski back. And he's sacked.
Guess who? Merriweather, 57 from the outside. I mean, they talk about Merriweather like he can be one of the best in the game. We always talk about those outside linebackers, Lawrence Taylor. We talk about the Hugh Greens.
Rod Martin.
Rod Martin. Mike Merriweather. He is now tied with Lawrence Taylor with sacks. He now has 8 sacks. He's got that speed. He's a force on defense. Yes, the force.
He is a real impact player. You bet. What has Tony Dungy told us, that he feels that he has the capacity to become the best linebacker ever to play for the Steelers? That's quite a compliment.
Wait a minute. Andy Russell played here. Jack Ham played here. That is an unbelievable count.
Here's Bartkowski back to pass. Screen pass. This is Arthur Cox, the tight end. And he fumbles the ball, and it's picked up by Keith Carey. Keith Carey, number 92. And it was Mike Merriweather who forced the fumble. That's the third turnover.
Number 57 is everywhere, and you sense that the third-year player out of Pacific is just growing in stature. Last week he had 3 sacks. Here again he had a sack just a moment ago, and then he comes up on this to force the fumble of Cox. Look at the blockers out in front. Watch Merriweather. Okay, watch him come in from behind. He's just got so much speed and quickness. He caused it, and also Lambert's in the middle of that, where you expect him to be. And the Steelers, Jim, as you said, are in control here early in the fourth quarter at Three Rivers Stadium.
The Wisconsin Badgers against the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Oh, what an upset yesterday. Wisconsin here on CBS beating Ohio State 16-14. How about that fullback, Mark Harrison? 203 yards.
Great day for him, and a great day for the Steelers so far as they lead 28-3. Here's the handoff to Frank Pollard. Pollard trying to reverse his field. And you better look out. He's got some running room, and he may go. Did you see who was leading the way? The quarterback, Mark Malone. 51 yards on the play.
I'm laughing because Frank Pollard, we were talking about him yesterday, he said, hey, I'm a 5- and 6-yard back. I can't go 65 yards. That's not my style. Here he reverses his field and then takes off on a joint. He said, heck, when I go 10, 12, 15 yards, I start looking back for somebody to tackle me. And there's Malone out in front leading the way. Pollard, big game, runs out of bounds.
Oh, What a great effort on his part. And you have to give him a lot of credit because he's such a likable young man, and his teammates really pull for him. Frank Pollard so far, 14 carries, 111 yards, 1 touchdown, the longest run, I should say, of his career, and it gives the Steelers the ball 1st and 10 at the Falcon 19. Flags on the play as Walter Abercrombie gets the ball. Still can't get over, though, the quarterback, the bad knee quarterback, leading the charge.
Left side of offensive line.
But number 16, you remember when he came here from Arizona State, the #1 draft choice in 1980, they actually shifted him as Frank Pollard. What an afternoon he's having, probably the best of his life. But what a Mark Malone.
First down.
First down and 15.
Mark Malone had that great 4.5 speed, so much so that they shifted him to wide receiver, and that's where he got that terrible knee injury.
This is the best game of Pollard's career. And what was it that Chuck Noll told us yesterday about Mark Malone? He could have been a great wide receiver.
A great wide. He said he was big, strong, tough, fast, with great hands. Right now, he's a pretty good quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You better believe it. Handoff goes to Abercrombie. Shakes a couple of tacklers, but he can't get away from Scott Case. So Scott Case, who was injured a little while ago, comes back into the ball game and makes the tackle. 13 minutes and 50 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter. And it is raining steadily here at Three Rivers Stadium.
And you wonder if there's a makings of a new quarterback controversy with David Woodley out. Mark Malone taking this team to his 2nd victory in his 2 starts this year. He beat San Francisco. He's on his way to beat Atlanta now. If he continues to win, what do? Do you start Woodley, or do you come back with Malone? Question Chuck Noll will have to answer.
Good problem for him to solve. There's the throw, pass to the end zone, into and out of the hands of John Stallworth.
Malone down on the ground. But you know what I like about Malone? He plays within himself. Of course, this is a big opportunity for the young man. 5-year career, has only played in 5 games before today, but he said, you know what? The worst thing I can do is try to impress somebody. The most important thing I can do is to win. He's doing that today, as is Cleveland. They're winning 14-10. 4th quarter.
Over New Orleans, and here's another score. Cincinnati over Houston, 31-7. Kansas City over Tampa Bay, 14-13. The Jets over New England, 20-16. Green Bay big over Detroit. And here's the Steelers, big over the Atlanta Falcons. 3 wide receivers in for Pittsburgh. Louis Lips checks in. Malone back to pass. Pressure up the middle. Thrown for a loss back at about the 36-yard line. They're made by Jeff Jackson.
And he's holding that right knee. Oh, my goodness. Let's see if he gets up all right. He's wearing a brace. He wears it all the time, even in practice. He's walking okay, so obviously Malone is okay as he got a big rush up the middle. And he was wise not to just throw that ball. He knows he has a 28-3 lead. Here comes the blitz right up the middle. Number 51, Jeff Jackson. And then his leg is twisted, but he's okay.
So the Steelers will punt. That means Craig Colquitt comes in. William Curran is at his own 10-yard line. Couple of
Charge, timeout. Atlanta, number 2.
So the Falcons call a timeout with 13 minutes and 3 seconds left to go in the 4th quarter.
I'm as surprised as you are, Chuck.
I'm flabbergasted at that move. That's just throwing a timeout away. We'll be back in just a moment. Dan Henning has a multitude of problems that I'm sure are going through his mind right now. Craig Colquitt into punt for Pittsburgh. Obviously, he will try and aim for the coffin corner. See if he can get it inside the 10. Going for the far sidelines. The ball goes out of bounds, and it will be marked. And the Falcons will take over 1st and 10 at their own 18-yard line.
1st and 10, Atlanta ball.
Coming up next, the second half of our doubleheader, and this is going to be a good one. The San Francisco 49ers against the Los Angeles Rams.
You tell me the truth now. Did you expect the Rams to be 4-1 with Jeff Kemp at quarterback?
I don't think many people did. I really don't. We know that Jeff Kemp is an efficient quarterback. That's what John Robinson calls him, and he says that you aren't going to lose a lot, but you're not going to win a lot of big games. That's what they were saying about him at the beginning, but he's come on, he's led them to 4 victories, and they need a victory today so they can cut that lead in the West. Here's a handoff to Gerald Riggs. Gerald Riggs up across the 25 up to about the 26-yard line. Tackle made by Donnie Shell.
I understand patience, but when you're down 28-3, will it do you any good? Got to get the ball moving. You got to break something in a hurry. Hope you can get it back in a hurry, score quickly again, and maybe get back in this game. I just wonder about the emotional, the psychological makeup of the Atlanta Falcons now. They've lost. This will be their 3rd in a row if they lose today. They're having problems with leadership.
Play action pass. And Bartkowski is sacked. Ed Nelson in on the sack for the Steelers. And you know what? There's another thing, though. I remember when I was playing, we would go into different slumps throughout the course of the year, and there were all kinds of comments that were made on the sidelines.
And all kinds of a comment. I couldn't believe the comment that was made by the owner of the Atlanta Falcons and backed up by their star, the injured William Andrews. He said some of these players are just living paycheck to paycheck, as if to say, well, they're just phoning it in. They're not really, they don't have the desire, the dedication, the discipline to really put out 100%. That's really an indictment on a professional athlete and an insult.
It really is. But like the Falcons told us yesterday, those people aren't close to the situation. They're on at practice every day. Here's Bartkowski. Pass out in the flat, complete to Arthur Cox. Cox taken down there by Harvey Clayton. So Bartkowski, whom himself told us yesterday that he does not believe in hollering and screaming. He says he believes the best way to lead is to serve. And right now, the Falcons are not showing any signs of being a good football team at all.
And we know they were devastated by Andrews' injury and of Billy White Shoes Johnson, but good football teams find replacements. The Pittsburgh Steelers have found replacements. They have an injured quarterback. They have an injured offensive line. And they've also found this man, Lewis Lips, #1 draft choice this year, awaiting the punt.
And you're looking there at Ralph Giacomo, who saved a touchdown a little while ago by tackling Lips on a punt. The 7th punt of the afternoon for Giacomo. Driving Lips back inside the 30 to about the 28-yard line. And there goes Lips. Those are not boos. They're just calling for Sweet Lou. Sweet Louis Lips.
Boy, can he do it. When you talk to Sweet Lou and you say, Louis, did you expect to have this kind of success in the NFL when you first came here? And he said, you know, I knew if I got an opportunity that I could make the big play. Here he makes a big play for the Pittsburgh Steelers and gives them great field position, as if they really needed field position at this point.
And Ralph Giacomo once again saves a touchdown as he tackles Louis Lips. The Steelers will have the ball 1st and 10 at the 43 of Atlanta when we return. On the sidelines, and what a major contribution he has made and is making to this Pittsburgh Steeler ball club. The Steelers leading the Atlanta Falcons 28-3. 10 minutes and 27 seconds left to go in the final period. I'm Jim Hill along with John Dockery. Here's a handoff to Walter Abercrombie. Abercrombie driven out of bounds at about the 48-yard line. There's a flag on the play. Scott Case and Mike Pitts in on the tackle for the Falcons.
And little Bobby Butler, #23, all 5'11", 175 pounds of him, came up really well to close down that play as a cornerback should.
Personal foul is a penalty against Atlanta. And it's one in a long line of penalties called against the Falcons this afternoon, especially in the first half.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, late hit, out of bounds, #25 on the defense. 1st and 10.
Penalty call against Scott Case.
7th penalty, and they've now been penalized 68 yards. Case is back in there. He was hurt earlier. Good to see him back in. We thought he had hurt his shoulder. Obviously, he's okay. Maybe looking for a little bit of revenge. He's got to be frustrated. That defensive team must be frustrated.
They've been out there most of the second half. Steelers have the ball at their 28. And Malone is set. Mike Pitts. One of the few bright spots for the Falcon defense this afternoon. Second sack.
The grand plan that Dan Henning had when he came to the Atlanta Falcons was to rebuild a defense that was very average. One of the ways you do that is by getting top-flight defensive linemen like number 74, their #1 draft choice in 1983 out of Alabama. You get players like that, and you get another #1 draft choice, number 77 defensive lineman this year, a rookie, and you build from the defensive line, and you build a defense that way.
Second and 13. Inside handoff to Abercrombie. And he's hit by Roy Harris.
It's ironic, Jim. The defense has actually been steadily improving for the Atlanta Falcons up till today. The offense has been sputtering and having problems.
Yeah, it really has. And Dan Henning was telling us yesterday that a lot of people in the Atlanta area do not really understand what he's trying to do and the moves and the improvement that he's trying to make in this particular ball club. He has seen a tremendous amount of improvement in the defense, as we mentioned, going from 25th up to 13th. But this afternoon, offensively and defensively, the Falcons have failed. Here's Mark Malone. Good protection. The pass is thrown incomplete to Weegie Thompson, and there's a flag on the play. Bobby Butler all over Weegie Thompson. And
that's a mismatch situation where Bobby Butler, only 5'11", 175 pounds, is covering Weegie Thompson, who's 6'6" and 210, and he just can't get by him, so he's pushing him, and that's a penalty.
Pass interference, number 23 on the defense. The pass is also complete. First and 10.
You know, there are times as a defensive back that you just have too good coverage. Here, it's a question of size. See Weegie pushing off, going downfield, and then he comes back, and Butler just can't get around him. See him there pushing, shoving, trying to get around him. Can't do it, pushes him, and that's the penalty.
I'd be even willing to guess that Butler had a hard time even seeing the ball because of the size of Thompson. 9 minutes and 7 seconds left to go in the ball game. First and 10 for the Steelers at the Falcon 15. Flags on the play. And contact is made at the line of scrimmage. Gordon McCarter's had a pretty busy afternoon today.
Encroachment, defense number 65.
So once again, Dean Smith, penalty call on for the Atlanta Falcons, and there you have a look at it. 12 penalties called this afternoon. And the Falcons continue to just fall apart. So it'll be first and 5. Ball at the 10-yard line of the Falcons. Mark Malone, who has thrown 2 touchdown passes so far this afternoon, both to John Stallworth, in total control for the Steelers. Scoop Gillespie in motion, and the handoff goes to Elton Fields. Elton Fields, the rookie out of Tulane, 5'11", 230 pounds, is tackled by Gary Burley and Mike Pitts. Obviously now, everything is well under control, and we're going to start to see a lot of reserve running backs for the Steelers, as Chuck Noll wants to give them some game-type experience, because you never know when you're going to need these people.
Exactly right. And they have some good ones. You mentioned Beals, the rookie out of Tulane. They have Gillespie, the rookie out of William Jewell. They have Erenberg, the rookie out of Colgate. They have Todd Spencer, the rookie out of Southern California. So they're loaded up with young running backs.
8:25 left to go in our ball game. Malone going into the end zone. Intended for Lewis Lips. Coverage there by Bobby Butler.
That's more of an even match. Lips is 5'10", Butler 5'11", so they're together. The ball was just, he had no chance. Butler had excellent coverage, so the ball was just wisely thrown away by Malone.
That's Chuck Noll, who
could give us a smile. I mean, he's got to be happy with the performance of his quarterback and his team here this afternoon.
Did you ever see him smile much on the sidelines when you were here?
Chuck doesn't smile too much during a game. He's all concentration and business.
Malone, 10 of 20 for 155 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. 3rd and 2, all at the 7. Malone back to pass again. Out in the play for Erenberg. And he's in there for a score. So Mark Malone is making a strong bid to become the #1 quarterback with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The man who looks like Tom Selleck, yes, is making a bid, and that's the first touchdown reception for Erenberg. Just came out of the backfield, was wide open. Defensive back Clydemore was just late getting the coverage.
So Gary Anderson, who's had a good workout this afternoon, is in to attempt the extra point conversion, and it's good. So Mark Malone has now thrown 3 touchdown passes this afternoon. The 3rd one here to Rich Erenberg coming out of the backfield.
See, there's a little bit of a pick play inside. That prevents the defensive back Clydemore from getting over and making the coverage on Erenberg. As the Steelers start to pour it on the Falcons here, 8:13 left in the 4th quarter.
All set to kick off for the Steelers as they take 7 plays, go 43 yards, and assume 2 minutes and 14 seconds on the clock. Sylvester Stamps back to receive for Atlanta. Stamps at about the 1-yard line. Sylvester Stamps has a hold. And Sylvester Stamps gets inside Steelers territory into about the 49-yard line, where the tackle there is made by Chris Brown. One of the very few plays, again, that the Falcons have really had something to cheer about today.
It may seem insignificant, but Stamps makes a good run back here. You could say, well, the Steelers know this game is in the bag, and they're letting up a little bit, but that's not the case. It's just a good run, some good blocking, and that has to be a good feeling for Dan Henne, because he does not want his team to just lay down. We're just by the midpoint of this season, and he's going to give Bartkowski a rest as Morosky comes in to quarterback. He goes to the sidelines now, probably to talk to Henning a little bit about what he wants to do right now.
Mike Morosky. This is his 6th season from Cal Davis. Good size, 6'4", 203 pounds. But this is nothing but experience for him right now, as the Steelers have total control 35-3. 8 minutes left to go in the ball game. Morosky gives a handoff to Gerald Riggs. Flag goes down as Riggs is first hit at about the 46-yard line. Tackle made by Harvey Clayton. Holding again against the Falcons. So the Atlanta Falcons, who early in the ball game at least were in the contest, now have just really taken themselves completely out of it. 9 penalties against the Falcons this afternoon.
Holding, number 86, offense. Penalty enforced from the spot of the foul. It'll be first down, about 18.
9 penalties for 83 yards. Coming up tonight on CBS, the all-new 60 Minutes. Murder, She Wrote, the Jeffersons, Alice, and Trapper John, M.B. So it has stopped raining just a little bit here. Many of the people have left, but don't you leave. The second half of our doubleheader is coming up in just a couple of moments. That's Sylvester Stamps.
Blocked by Seabaugh and Catano.
7:42 left. Let's go to New York now for this NFL update and Brent Musburger.
Well, Jim, it's all but over in Soldier Field in Chicago, but the Vikings do score here on a nice pass, and they avert a shutout for the first time since 1980. Leo Lewis, the receiver, but the Bears are about to open up a 3-game lead now in the NFC Central. Let's go back to Jim.
Thank you, Brenton. It's all but over here, too. The Steelers leading 35-3. Handoff again to Gerald Riggs. Riggs gets into Steeler territory, into about the 49-yard line before he's tackled there made by Brian Hinkle. Other scores this afternoon in the National Football League. Cleveland over New Orleans. It is Cincinnati beating Houston. Kansas City over Tampa Bay in the fourth period. New England over the Jets by 3 in the fourth quarter. Green Bay big over Detroit in the fourth quarter. Chicago, as we just saw a highlight there, leading Minnesota 16-7 in the fourth period. Dallas over Indianapolis 22-3 in the fourth period. Here's Morosky back to pass. Plenty of time on the rollout. He decides to run, hit at the 40-yard line, and that's where he's driven out of bounds. Tackle there made by Harvey Clayton. Another score. St. Louis over Philadelphia, 31-14 in the fourth period.
Ooh, St. Louis and Dallas both winning. Puts a little extra pressure on Washington to beat the New York Giants. At Eastern Division, they're all together in the East. 3 teams. Dallas, St. Louis, Washington, all 5-3. Look at that big, ooh, yes.
R.C. Thielman. He has a broken finger there. And, you know, and that makes it, and with that injury, the weather, and losing 35-3, he's just miserable.
Oh, looks like a boxing glove. Of course, with the new offensive line rules, it may be a help.
Morosky gives the ball to Gerald Riggs, and there's another flag on the play.
You have to feel, you have to feel for the Atlanta Falcons because things don't get any better after they leave Three Rivers Stadium next week. On Monday night, a week from tomorrow night, they have to play Washington, and then it's New Orleans, Cleveland, Cincy, and then they play San Francisco, Tampa, Philadelphia, so could be a long year for Atlanta.
Holding, number 64 offense, 10-yard penalty, repeat, 4th down.
That against Joe Pellegrini. That's what the Falcons have to face.
You know the Redskins are going to keep winning. They have to keep winning to stay abreast in the Eastern Division. And look at that, they got to play San Francisco, also New Orleans, trying to get back on track after losing to Dallas last week. Boy, Dan Henning's got a major job in putting the Falcons back on the track.
Ralph Giacomo kicking for Atlanta. Rick Woods is back to receive now for the Steelers. Giacomo going to the far sideline, trying to drive it out inside the 10. And he does a pretty good job this time. The ball is spotted out of bounds at about the 4-yard line.
First and 10, Pittsburgh ball on their own 4-yard line.
Next weekend, CBS Sports Saturday. 2 boxing championships for you. The WBC World Super Lightweight Championship. Billy Costello going against Leroy Haley.
That's Costello, of course, at home in Kingston, New York, against the former champ and the #1 contender.
Another bout, WBC World Super Bantamweight Championship from Kingston, New York. Jaime Garza going against Juan Mesa.
Well, can anyone beat Garza? 40 bouts, 38 of those by knockouts, has yet to be beaten.
Special performances in 1984 World Figure Skating Championships. That's next Saturday. Scott Campbell is in at quarterback now for Mark Malone. And the handoff goes to Scoop Gillespie.
You know, Sports Saturday is also going to have a feature on Billy Johnson, of course, the USA's Olympic gold medalist in the downhill. First American male to win a World Cup downhill.
And when he was asked at the press conference what that championship meant to him, he said, millions. He said, I mean millions.
Billy Johnson, the gold medalist in the downhill skiing. That's next week. Sports Saturday, CBS.
Once again, Scott Campbell is in at quarterback now for Mark Malone. 2nd and 8 for the Steelers. Ball at their own 6-yard line. Campbell trying to get everyone straight, getting John Rodgers back on the other side. You better hurry, 4 seconds left on the clock. And he does. He gets the ball up, and the handoff goes to Anthony Corley. Anthony Corley tackled by Fulton Kuykendall. 5 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in the ball game. The Steelers. A huge 35-3 lead. Mark Malone, 3 touchdown passes. 2 going to John Stallworth. 1 going to Rich Erenberg. As Erenberg checks back into the ball game, along with Lewis Lips. 4 minutes, 55 seconds left to go in the ball game. 3rd and 7, ball at the 7-yard line. There's the inside draw play to Anthony Corley. Anthony Corley gets up over the 15-yard line. Tackle made by Al Richardson and Kenny Johnson.
This is fun time for these guys coming in, getting a chance to play. Anthony Corley, another one of those rookie running backs we talked about out of Nevada, Reno, free agent in 1984, gets a chance to do it.
You know, and you have to feel good for these young men because all during the week, all week long, all they do is work, getting the starters ready for the opposition. Now they have a chance to go in to get some game-packed conditions and to see themselves on the films on Monday. Here's a handoff to Erenberg. Erenberg tackled by Tom Benson.
You think the Atlanta, excuse me, I was going to say, do you think the Atlanta Falcons will want to go in and see these game films? Maybe Dan Henning will burn them.
I tell you, there'll be a lot of heads hiding under towels tomorrow morning in Atlanta when the Falcons have to go in and watch the films of this one.
They had hoped to turn their season around. They had lost 2 coming in. They saw this as a pivotal game, not exactly desperation, but critical. A win here would have put them back on the track. Not so much a shot at the playoffs, because Dan Henning didn't want great expectations, but a shot at respectability, moving in the right direction.
It has not been a respectable showing by the Falcons this afternoon, not at all. That's Elton Beals, the ball carrier. Gets up to about the 14-yard line. Tackle is made by Jeff Yates. 3 minutes and 15 seconds left to go in the ball game. And the Atlanta Falcons, who have come under heavy criticism the last week and a half, will probably come under even more criticism after this game.
You'd have to anticipate they've played very poorly here. Mistakes. I mean, that bomb that Stacey Bailey dropped early could have been the difference. Riggs fumbles first time they get the ball. Steelers take it back for a touchdown. They were behind from the very beginning. They couldn't recover.
Scott Campbell quarterbacking now for the Steelers, replacing Mark Malone. And Campbell goes back to pass, and the fans love it. Across the middle, complete to Calvin Sweeney. Sweeney tackled there by Scott Case.
The rookie from Purdue is not going to throw away his opportunity. He's going to show Chuck Snow. Look at that big smile. Yeah, I can play quarterback in the NFL. A little easier when you're winning 35-3, but still, nice completion.
The referee just ruled that it was trapped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the fans love it, though. You know, the fans always have a very special spot in their heart for the second-string quarterback or the third-string quarterback, and especially when he gets into a ball game, they want to see him perform. They want to see him put it up in the air.
And you can afford to be magnanimous when you're winning by this much.
William Curran back to receive Fred Colquitt's punt. And about the 38, and he's tackled immediately. Tackle made by Anthony Corley. Steelers now just having a lot of fun with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in the ball game. And while many of the fans have left Three Rivers Stadium, you folks at home, you have the best seat in the country. Stay right where you are. Some of you will see next coming up on CBS Sports, Washington taking on the New York Giants or the San Francisco 49ers against the Los Angeles Rams. So stay right here for the second half of our doubleheader.
Divisional battles, all important for all of those clubs. Obviously, Washington wanting to stay abreast of Dallas and St. Louis. The Giants hoping to get in the action in the NFC East. Of course, the Rams want to cut that 2-game lead the San Francisco 49ers have. So that's going to be serious football coming up.
Mike Morosky in at quarterback now for the Falcons. The handoff goes to Gerald Riggs. Riggs. Ed Nelson in on the tackle for the Steelers. As we're closing in on the 2-minute mark left to go in our ball game. And for the Falcons, this is 2 minutes that they would just as soon let run right on through. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though it is raining here at Three Rivers Stadium, it's raining points for the Steelers. They lead the Falcons 35-3. We'll be right back. The expression by Mike Pitts pretty well tells you the story as far as the Atlanta Falcons are concerned. They will be the first to admit that they have been thoroughly embarrassed. And facial expressions tell you all you need to know. 2nd and 13. Ball at the 34-yard line of the Falcons. Mike Morosky back to quarterback. And he's trying to pass. Running around, scrambling. Here comes the pressure. Finally tackled by Todd Seabaugh. David Little also in on the tackle for the Steelers.
And you hear somebody in the background playing taps.
1:22 left to go in the ball game. Morosky back to pass. Throwing across the middle. Intended and completed to Sylvester Stamps. Stamps with a good move. Finally tackled by Chris Brown.
Not by Brown.
1 minute left in this game. Atlanta will be 3-6, 3-game losing streak. Dan Henning will be severely tested. His patience. He'll have to go back and regroup and hope that he can motivate this team to do something down the tail end of this season.
Here's Morosky throwing to the near sidelines. Good defense there by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Harvey Clayton. Let's check some final scores around the National Football League this afternoon. Cincinnati over Houston, 31-13. Chicago defeating Minnesota, 16-7. It is Dallas big over Indianapolis, 22-3. Danny White back at the starting quarterback position for the Dallas Cowboys. 46 seconds left to go in our ball game. Here's Morosky again. Lots of time scrambling around, trying to duck behind the umpire. He doesn't help. He's part of the field, and he gets tackled finally by Todd Seabaugh again.
Jim, I have to ask you a question. Who do you like? I know you're a West Coast guy, but who do you like in that 49ers-Rams game?
Well, you'd have to favor the 49ers. I mean, they have everything going for them. They have, they seem to have regained the confidence and the offensive philosophy and magnitude that they had a few years ago when they went to the Super Bowl.
Certainly Montana and Dwight Clark are getting it back together. But remember, the Pittsburgh Steelers beat San Francisco a few weeks back by running the ball. And if there's anything the Rams can do, is they can run the ball.
That's right. I didn't say that's who I picked to win the ball game.
Eric Dickerson already over 900 yards.
Oh, yeah.
How about Chuck Noll? He's got to be happy. His team now 5-4. They protect that 2-game lead in the AFC Central.
Another final this afternoon. New Orleans over Cleveland. The score there, 16-14.
I have another question for you. Who do you like in the Redskins-Giants game?
Skins.
Skins?
You?
Well, I would say Lawrence Taylor and company are angry. They want to get back on the track.
Morosky complete to Stacey Bailey. Tackle made by Chris Brown. Can you believe there's a timeout on the field? So the Falcons call their third and last timeout. Our thanks today in the booth to our spotter Dan Noel, Rick Baker, who's given us our great work on stats, the executive producer Terry O'Neill, senior producer Charles H. Milton III, produced by David Dinkins Jr., the General we call him, and directed by Mike Arnold. And thanks to everyone else who's done just a terrific job in helping us bring our ball game this afternoon to you at home. 4 seconds left to go in the ball game. Don't forget, coming up in just a couple of moments right here on CBS, the second half of our doubleheader, and it's going to be a good one.
Some of you folks will see the Redskins at the Giants. Others will see the 49ers at the Rams. You know, people complain about matchups and the games in the NFL not being good ones. Well, those two will sparkle.
Oh, they certainly will. And there's a lot at stake at both games.
Oh, no doubt about it.
And the Atlanta Falcons had a lot at stake at this ball game. They have not met the challenge of the Pittsburgh Steelers. 4 seconds left. Mike Morosky, quarterback. This is the last play of the ball game. Going into the end zone, close to the end zone, Stacey Bailey gets the ball at about the 2-yard line, and he's in for the score. They give Stacey Bailey and the Atlanta Falcons a touchdown as time runs out.
You have to wonder if they were being kind to the Atlanta Falcons and Stacey Bailey. It was very close. You think Dan Henning really cares? Take a look at it again. We'll see if the referee is feeling some sympathy for the Atlanta Falcons. Take a look. Bailey along the sidelines, cutting outside, takes the ball, and then he turns upfield. And you tell me whether he got in the end zone, folks. Ooh, very close. Referee standing right there. The judge, that judge, he called it a touchdown. He has a good angle.
So we have to clear the field. The extra point conversion has to be attempted here. No time left in the play.
Must be kicked.
And you think Dan Henning would just as soon get this game over with, get into the locker room, and start thinking about what he can do to turn this team around. Take a look at it again, folks, and see if he gets in. It appears as though he just got the ball in. Let's take a look.
You have to watch the ball now. Now watch the ball.
It looks like it got the ball on the plane of the goal line, the white stripe. That's all it has to go to. It's academic. They gave him the touchdown. Don't go away, though, folks. There's
Here's
more.
Luckhurst in to attempt the extra point conversion, but don't go away. The second half of our doubleheaders coming up. The extra point conversion is good. That makes the score. The Pittsburgh Steelers 35, the Atlanta Falcons 10. But as we mentioned, the second half of our doubleheaders coming up. For John Dockery, this is Jim Hill saying so long from Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Again, the final score. The Pittsburgh Steelers 35, the Atlanta Falcons 10. Stay tuned next as the NFL on CBS continues.
Steelers 84 is sponsored in part by your Pittsburgh Metro Ford dealers, who invite you now to write your own deal.
Hello, I'm Rocky Bleier, and welcome to Week 10 of the NFL season. The Steelers go into today's game against the Oilers on the heels of their best effort of the season against Atlanta. Mark Malone directed a 35-10 victory with a fine mix of the passing and running game. Frank Pollard rushed for a career-high 111 yards on 14 carries, his second 100-yard game of the season. He also broke loose for a 52-yard gain, the most by a Steeler back in 5 years, and that's why we asked Frank to be our guest today. Frank, thanks very much for joining us. What a great team effort coming off of that win.
Yeah, we really needed a victory. We've been down the week before with the Colts and didn't have too good of a week, but we had a good week of practice and just couldn't let another victory go by like that.
You know, a week of practice and preparation for a game like that is very important. But how do you explain the kind of games that you come off of big wins and then all of a sudden you lose?
I think it's more mental than anything, Rock. We had a good week of work, before the Colts game, but it was just the mental aspect of the game that we didn't prepare, and they just took it away from us there at the last of the game, which really hurt us.
Well, it did, and especially the big play, and it only takes one big play at times to come up with a loss.
Yeah.
You had some big plays in Atlanta's game on last Sunday, and so let's take a look at that right now, that victory against the Falcons. The defense saved you some embarrassment early when Dwayne Woodruff picked up this fumble by Atlanta's Gerald Riggs and returned it 65 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah, Dwayne saved us on this play. We had thrown an interception at the start of the game, and he came up with a fumble recovery and took it back in, I think, 65 or 70 yards, which really helped us.
It was kind of like, thanks a lot, Dwayne, after that interception right away.
Yeah, that took a lot of pressure off of us.
Well, of course, I gave you a 7-0 lead as we were talking about Mike Merriweather, and John Goodman also ganged up on Steve Bartkowski for a sack and a 10-yard loss.
These two guys, Mike and John, have been doing a great job all year, and right there they put a lot of pressure on Steve, and they got to him, and that was a big sack, and we really needed it.
Well, they got to him all really, afternoon. They put a great deal of pressure on him, as you were saying. In the second quarter, you started to move on the ball on the ground and lost on this drive, but lost the fumble. What happened there?
I think it was a combination of two things. I was wearing a flak jacket to protect my ribs, which probably could have been a major contributor to the fumble.
Well, fortunately, later in the period, you got things together again. Malone completes a 19-yard pass to tight end Darrell Nelson for a first down.
Yeah, Mark's been doing a great job for us all year, and he found Darrell downfield for a good gain, and that's, something we needed to get our offense rolling.
One of the other things you need to do, or it seems like, is get that tight end more involved in the passing game. Here you go on a quick pitch around the right end.
Yeah, that was a great block by Darrell Nelson and Tunch Ilkin to get the sweep open outside.
Then Mark hit Stallworth for a 20-yarder for a touchdown, and the Steelers are up 14-0.
Yeah, John is one of the greatest receivers to ever play the game of football, and he's doing a great job for us all year. And, I'm looking for continued success for him.
Did John ever tell you how he taught him how to run after he caught the ball?
No.
Oh, okay. You probably wouldn't. But anyway, Woodruff has been great defensively. He comes through with this interception, probably the key in the game.
Yeah, I think so. That was a big turnover for us. Dwayne's been doing a great job all year. He's had some problem, injury-wise during training camp, but he's come back to do an excellent job.
As big of a play as that was, the series that followed was very important. He right here hit you for 18 yards and a first down.
Yeah, that was just a little hook pattern that he had called out in the huddle, and I think I'm the secondary receiver on that, and he had the other receivers covered downfield, so he checked off to me.
Little hook pattern with a little stutter step in there, too. You're getting fancy. We get some other plays here we're going to have to look at. Then you bolt right up the middle for 5 yards and a touchdown, and it put you guys up 21-3. He audible there, didn't he?
Yeah, he told us in the huddle to be ready in case the defense jumped into a prevent defense that we would audible and go to a trap play up the middle.
Now, late in the third period, Malone goes up top again to Stallworth for a 31-yard touchdown, and then you really widen the lead. It's 28-3 right here.
Yeah, that's just another great job by John Stallworth of catching the ball and running after he caught the ball. He's doing an excellent job, and I'm just, proud to be on the same team with him.
Does he give you a psychological lift with big plays like that?
Yeah, it does. It shows, the whole offense that we can do it. Anybody can make a big play, just, if they want it to happen.
Well, you must have wanted this one to happen. Talking about big plays, there it is, 52 yards, and you broke loose for that. The longest run by a back in 5 years.
Yeah, that was a sweep to the left, and the Atlanta defense had shifted right into it, and all I wanted to do was just not lose any yardage, but I picked up a couple of blockers in Calvin Sweeney and Mark Malone, and they took me down the sideline.
What did you step out of bounds? Hey, what's this stepping out of bounds?
Hey, I was tired.
Did Chuck say anything to you about after that play? Like he thought maybe you were faster than that?
No, but the rest of the teammates have been on me all week long.
Well, you guys didn't score on that drive, but Mark comes up with a big play, 16 yards to Ouija Thompson, and a first down right there.
Yeah, Ouija's one of the young receivers. He's doing a great job for us, too.
And talking about young players, here's one, number 24, Rich Erenberg. He completed the 43-yard drive with a 7-yarder.
There's a lot you can say about Rich, but the one thing I know about him, he's an excellent football player. He studies the game, and he knows just what to do.
Well, that would made it 35-3. Let's take a look right here. Micah Morosky to Stacy Bailey for the last touchdown. Was it good?
I think it was a close call. It could have gone either way, but I think the rest of the guys would prefer that he didn't make the touchdown.
I think so, too. It was a great victory for you guys. Hey, and one of the interesting things that I found, at least after that, and talking to Chuck Noll, was it was kind of an attitude change. And he said, we have to now put wins back-to-back together.
Yeah, I think that'll help us, with the other teams in the division losing. And if we can continue, with our victories and things like that, we can put, space in between that so we don't have to worry about other teams sneaking up on us, toward the end of the season.
Do you feel that Chuck also made the statement that maybe we aren't having the success that we should have because we don't feel any pressure. Our backs aren't up against the wall. Do you kind of feel that way?
No, I don't really feel that way. I think it's just the fact that we play a good team one week, and then the next week we have a team that doesn't have a good record. It's more like the mental aspect of the game. We don't prepare like we should.
Well, we better prepare this for today's game, right?
Yeah,
prepared all week.
For this one.
Well, Frank played in the shadow of Franco Harris for 4 years, but his progress the past 2 years is one of the reasons the Steelers found Franco expendable. We'll discuss Frank's views on that and his future when we return. Two-yard run. As we take another look, explain why we haven't had more runs like this in recent years. Here it comes.
Okay, this is a sweep to the left, and I think it's just the fact that the running backs don't want to lose, yardage, so they, don't try it that much. And plus, I don't think we have that many breakaway backs in our offense.
And we probably really haven't. I mean, Franco was maybe the breakaway back that we had. We never really had the speed. Everybody kind of came out of the same mold. Now, the longest run previous to that was by old number 32, Franco Harris. His was a 71-yarder against Cleveland 5 years ago. As many of you know, Franco was released this week. But prior to the season, you and some promising young rookies made Franco expendable, as we talked about. Now, how do you feel about what happened to Franco?
What happened to Franco during training camp, it just happened so fast, Everybody was thinking that he would be in training camp, at some time. But, as things worked out, it didn't happen that way. And, all the running backs we were disappointed about it. Everybody wanted to work with him. And there was a big void left in our offense when he left.
No, before we go on with that subject, I just want to tell our viewers out there that in that game that Franco ran 71 yards. Yours truly ran 70 yards. And Sidney Thornton, I think, had a 68-yarder in that one.
All in one game.
All in one game. Sidney was the only one that was caught from behind, much like you. Anyway, you know, talk about the, you know, playing behind Franco Harris, and especially in your early years. Was it frustrating? I mean, that you didn't get a chance to play, and knowing that here's a guy that's been here forever, you know, in front of you, and a legend, and that you may not get your chance to play?
No, I don't think it was frustrating. Well, in fact, I know it wasn't. I was just happy to be there, and I was learning a lot from Franco. He took time out with me to discuss our offense, and I knew that probably in the future that I would have a chance to play, and fortunately things has worked out for me.
You know, I mean, I'm sure that when this time came, and especially last year, and of course this year, was that, I mean, you knew that you had to play and wanted to play. Were you frustrated at any time knowing that, hey, I mean, Franco's out there maybe dance around, I know I can play and get out there and run?
I was frustrated, during some games, not all the time. Some games he would have a great game or things like that. It was only like maybe when, the job wasn't being done that I thought that maybe that I should have been playing. But overall, the whole season last year, I don't think so.
We're talking about a running game, and especially how it's developed this year. The continuity within the offense, and especially the injuries to our offensive line, does that really affect the performance of the running backs? Yes,
especially the injuries to the offensive linemen. You have certain linemen, you get used to running behind, and it's a combination of timing, and you just know what they're going to do. And if you keep switching linemen, back and forth, then that's going to cause a problem.
Coming into this training camp, and of course we're talking about the young running backs, did you feel that this was a pretty good crew of running backs, maybe one of the best you've seen in a while?
Well, during minicamp, I guess I saw all these guys, and I didn't think so at the time. But I guess the first week of training camp, I realized, that we did have a good group, and I thought that possibly all of them would make the team, and they did.
I have to ask you a question now. This goes back to the Indianapolis game, because I had some comments by some of the people, and when we were having the drive and the penalty by Tunch Ilkin, the personal foul penalty, when you were down on the ground and the guy came in and hit you late, and you jumped up. Remember that? And you kind of lost your temper there.
Yeah.
At the time, and maybe spurred a Tunch on. Did you feel at all responsible?
Yeah, I did feel responsible for it. I should have just had gone back to the huddle, and just because we were right there at the end of the game. But I don't think that what Tunch did was all that bad, because he just was talking to the guys, and they threw the first punch actually, which wasn't right. The officials should have called a penalty both ways if they were going to call one.
As we've seen this team develop this year and getting into a running game, do you feel that it's falling together? Do you get that sense of a unity on the team now?
Yeah, I think so. I think the linemen and the tight ends, everybody getting the respect that they deserve for doing the job. We have a young group of offensive linemen, which we have a difficult system for our offensive linemen to learn, and they've taken the time and they're learning things, and our offensive running plays are beginning to roll now.
Talking about that offense, now that the Steelers have an offense that is a good mix of the run and the pass, can they continue their winning ways against the Oilers' 33 defense? Offensive line coach Bill Myers will discuss how the black and gold is going to attack it when we return. We'll be looking at a 33 defense that is anchored on the line by number 67, Mike Stensrud. But offensive line coach Bill Myers says there's a way we can neutralize them.
In the past, one of the big problems that the Steelers faced playing against Houston was number 65, Elvin Bethea. He was as strong and as quick as they come, and oh, how he gave us fits, trying to anticipate the count, hitting the gaps, and in general, following up our concentration. But he's no longer there. The man now to watch in the defensive line is a new face, number 67, Mike Stensrud.
He's a big guy. He's about 6'5", 280. He's a 6-year veteran on Iowa State, and he's the key to holding down the middle of that defense for them to have success.
The task of stopping Stensrud falls squarely on the shoulders of Mike Webster, a task he should be well suited for.
He's Mike's kind of player. He's a big guy, a physical guy, and those are the kind of players Mike likes to play against. He's done a good job against every nose tackle we've played this year. He single blocks them, he drives them, he puts them on their back, and I think this will be a good matchup again this week.
To be successful, the Steelers need to exploit that matchup. One way is running the fullback right up the middle.
We're going to hit it right up in here with that with the fullback. You ought to remember that play, Rock. I think you've run it a few times. But on this thing, Mike's going to be key because he's got to block back on Stensrud, and he's got to maintain the hole.
Now that we've seen it on the blackboard, this is how it should work in the game.
As you know, we tell the fullback to hug that double-team block. Well, there is no double team. He still has to hug it because he is offset. We're just going to send this guard straight through for the backside linebacker. So that means Mike's got to wall him up and maintain position if he can, even get movement away from the play, because we still want our fullback to hug that block.
Well, that's one way we're going to attack their defense. But they are a defense that swarms a lot. It's a typical Houston defense that really likes to hit.
Yeah, they're a physical group of guys, especially their linebackers. They have, I guess, the 3-4, and they have probably the best 4 linebackers that, you know, that they could have on the field with Abrams, Riley, and Brazil. And they just do a great job. They love to intimidate people.
Well, you know, we looked at one way, which is running up the middle. What are some of the other things that we may be able to look for today?
You probably could be able to look for some, you know, some swing passes out of the backfield, you know, to the running backs, or just some short hooks, something to keep the linebackers honest.
Is Robert Brazil still as intimidating as he always has been?
I don't know if he's as intimidating, but he's a lot bigger than he used to be, which, you know, that in itself could be, you know, intimidating to me.
I thought he was big when we played way back when. He's been in the league for 10 years. You know, Houston comes to town with an 0-9 record, so the Steelers can't afford to take them lightly.